Hey, what is up, guys? It's your boy KCM, What Ifs. Today we are going to be reading the sealed kunai, or what if Naruto had his true potential sealed away. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. 5 months later, undisclosed location in general area between the land of earth and the land of mountains. Naruto had his eyes closed with his sword in his lap inside of a small fissure on the side of a cliff, as he caught a wink of sleep before the tough part of his current mission kicked up once more. As he heard the muffled footsteps of his comrade enter the vicinity, he let out a small sigh and started rebooting his mind to prepare for work. His hair had grown out quite a bit during his long time away from home, allowing it to trail down his neck, and he was now wearing the gear he had purchased in Kumo. The sleeveless, dark gray hooded vest, the black pants, the black bracers on his forearms, and his black shinobi sandals. He had grown about 3 inches over the past few months out and about. As a man in a cat-patterned mask entered the cave, he looked Naruto over. "You're already awake. That's good. It's time to get to work, kid." Naruto chuckled. "No time for real rest, huh, Tenzo?" Tenzo sighed and pulled the mask off of his face to reveal a man with short brown hair, black eyes, and a mask-style forehead protector in the fashion of the second Hokage. Use the code name for the love of God, Naruto. Naruto put his hands up defensively. "We're in a cave, 1,200 feet off of the ground. 450 more feet to the peak of the mountain. Anyone that actually hears your name is going to be dead in a few minutes anyway, and if a patrol actually came all the way out here away from the base, they were either completely stupid, or the others didn't do as good as they thought covering their tracks when they went and did reconnaissance. So either way, you're good." Tenzo stared at Naruto for a moment with his eye twitching, lack of respect for protocol aside. "You've done very well on this assignment. You're not half bad at this stuff. Who knew a 14-year-old kid was this good at sacking bases? I thought Hokage-sama was insane when she stuck you with my squad, but you are damn efficient at this." Naruto shrugged. "Just because I have a ton of chakra doesn't mean I can't operate without it. I like this kind of stuff. Though that base in the land of the sea was a pain in the ass with that scientist and all. Good thing you were there when it started falling apart." "That sea monster thing was annoying." Tenzo laughed and rubbed the back of his head. "It was pure water. I could control it and bend it to my will. Not really a good move on that Amachi guy's part. Anko really didn't take too kindly to the way he played with that girl's head there either. I almost felt sorry for the bastard. Almost." Naruto slung his sword over his back, and that's why we sent her and that Izarabi girl back to Konoha afterwards. Because we couldn't let her keep doing this crap if that was how she was going to react when we actually caught somebody that was willing to go down without fighting to the death. "All right, who's going with me on this one?" "Is Yugao heading in with me?" Tenzo patted the boy on the shoulder. "You're going in alone on this one. If you get caught, they're going to swarm and head outside. Only the best will stay inside at that point, and from there, if it requires it, you can cut loose with the Kyuubi's chakra. I mean, really cut loose. Like, go as hard with it as you can. That's why I'm here, remember?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah, about that. Why do you insisting that I keep going full blast with Kyuubi's chakra? I mean, it is really good practice without freaking anybody at home out. But won't people be able to tell that Konoha did this when they feel my chakra being left over afterwards? Or can your Mokuton handle that too? As long as you don't turn the place into a smoldering 2-mile in circumference crater, we should be good." Tenzo admitted, although we were supposed to do that anyway, but not with demonic chakra, or alerting anyone that needs to stay alive to our presence. Both of which you using every bit of demonic chakra you can pump out would cause. Naruto stood and dusted himself off before doing some light stretching. "So how am I doing this? Am I going in loud or am I doing this on the sly? Because the last loud one ended up almost being a clusterfuck." "Quietly," Tenzo said. "You pretty much have the general layout of all of Orochimaru's bases mapped out in your head, so anyone else going in wouldn't have the advantage of staying under the radar like you." Naruto took off his forehead protector and placed it in a pocket before pulling his hair into a ponytail and pulling his hood over his head. "If you've seen one of Orochimaru's bases, you've seen them all. The man has next to no imagination for this kind of thing. I swear they all have the same basic layout. Once you get past the creepiness of them, they get kind of monotonous." Tenzo placed his own mask back on. "All right, are you prepared to go?" He got a nod from Naruto. Well then, get started and stay low profile. No ninjutsu, and as little chakra use as possible. Set the charges underground to coincide with the ones above ground and get your ass out of there. Naruto saluted Tenzo. Yes, Lieutenant. With that, Naruto left the cave and started scaling the cliff face with chakra on his feet as the sun began to set. This was what he had been waiting for so long for. Tsunade had finally given him a mission that was right up his alley. And though he was out of practice when he started, he fell back into the swing of things quickly. Flashback, 5 months prior. You're kidding, right, Tsunade Abakan? She's kidding, right, Shizune Nikan? Naruto asked in an unbelieving fashion. You're seriously jerking my chain right about now, aren't you? I didn't think you would ever send me out on something like this ever again. You're actually going to send me on a real ranked mission? Where I'm actually going to fight? Tsunade stared Naruto down. You were recommended for Anbu by Genma Shiranui. And even Kakashi has said that seeing what you can do in the group could be worth looking into. This is the perfect opportunity to see what you've got, brat, even if you're not technically one of them at this point in time. Any objections? Naruto thought for a moment before shaking his head. No, not really, but can you do some stuff for me while I'm gone? Tsunade thought about it. What do you need? Naruto smiled. First, take care of Hamako for me. She should be just fine. She lined the apartment with seals, so she should be secure, but she might get lonely. Just keep her busy. She can make all kinds of stuff for you. Just give her some specs on what you want in a seal and she'll pull something together for you. Second, get rid of that law for Kyuubi. If people want to talk about it, go ahead and let them. Let people form whatever opinion they want on the matter. I'll just have to change it for them later. Or kill them for being stupid and trying to hurt me, whatever comes first. Tsunade's sweat dropped at the casual tone but gave in and agreed to the second request. Sure, now about your mission. You will be finally using that little spiky blonde noggin full of Orochimaru's secrets for us. What do you have from memory? Naruto sat down, tapping his chin before Shizune placed a sheet of paper and a pen in front of him. Time has pretty much taken a sledgehammer to the minute details, but other than the unholy garbage I have on the cursed seal, I have a few of his lieutenants' names, and the coordinates of a few bases spread out all over the place. That man really got around, he said as he wrote out some of what he knew on the paper provided. Tsunade waited for him to finish before taking and reading what he had down. This isn't bad at all. It's definitely more information than anyone else had been able to scrounge up on Orochimaru's workings for years before this. It's definitely settled then. You will be accompanying a contingent of Anbu on search and destroy missions against the bases you've just listed for us. Naruto had to grin at that. Finally. He mumbled out, Are you going to promote me now? Or what? Tsunade lowered the paper and frowned at him. Maybe. We'll see when you get back. I'll summon you in a few days to get your full briefing for the mission. Tell no one what exactly you're doing. I'm sure you know this. Naruto had a question. What about my money? It's been 2 weeks and I never got my money for Sasori. Tsunade rubbed her temple. Since he turned his body into a puppet, there was no biological evidence of it being Sasori himself, despite his signature poison coating the weapons you sent. Naruto blinked. You need DNA? Why didn't you say so? I kept the tatters of the shirt I used when I fought him. It has his blood from my final attack all over it. I'll send it right to you before I set out on this trip. I want my money, soon as not shafting me on this one. Tsunade sent a look to Shizune, who nodded and left the room, probably to prepare correspondence to the Land of Wind. She then returned her attention to Naruto. I'll handle it if you get me the DNA. Now get rested and ready for the mission. No training and get your affairs in order before you leave. This one's going to be a long one. Understood, Tsunade-sama. Consider the bases raided and sacked. Naruto saluted her and exited through the window. End flashback. Night had fallen as Naruto made his way further in from the edge of the cliff he had just scaled, and eventually came upon a seemingly normal-looking fracture in the rock wall. Pretty normal-looking cave entrance. The man can certainly disguise his bases when he wants to. The opening seemed unguarded, but Naruto knew far better than that. This base was still active. That meant that there was a guard or two somewhere within easy sight of the entrance. Naruto simply stood still, and decided now was the time to use one of his natural advantages. "Hey Kyubi, can you help me point out any sentries posted out here? I know they're here, I just don't really know where. And attacking one without having a bead on the other could blow my stealth before I even start the mission." He waited for a moment for a reply before receiving one. "There is one currently using Earth Release. Hidden mole jutsu about 10 feet in front of the hole in the wall. There is another just inside the entrance, right out of your or anyone else's line of sight." Naruto looked along the ground for a sign of jutsu use before acknowledging Kyubi's assistance. "Thanks a million." "All right, he's close enough to the surface so that he can sense the movements of intruders. That means I can use a move to get to him, but I have to somehow get the other guy first, or else he'll get wise to something strange happening and alert the rest of the base to my presence." Naruto was incredibly grateful for the new moon being on this night, as it left him with the perfect lack of visibility for him to pull this maneuver off. Naruto created a shadow clone and hanged it into a spider before pulling out a spool of ninja wire. Naruto's spider clone took the end of the wire and walked off towards the cave, the underground sentry either not noticing or acknowledging the presence of the spider. As it entered the cave and saw the Oto shinobi posted to stand watch, it moved up the wall closest to him before jumping off onto him and gently walking around the man's shoulder area twice, leaving slack to ensure that the wire would go unnoticed. Luckily, there was no need for the spider clone to transform back, as it found a recess in the wall that it could fit its body into and hold the ninja wire. Upon getting the wire fully situated and steadied, it dispelled. Upon getting the mental cue from his clone, Naruto pulled on his end of the wire as hard as he could, feeling the steel wire tighten and run into something, the guard's throat. Naruto kept pulling until he felt the wire give a tug back, signifying that the body of his target had expired. Dropping the wire from his hands, he then picked up a stone before tossing it directly into the mouth of the cave. The underground sentry, feeling the vibration, jumped out of hiding and looked inside the cave, unknowingly turning his back on the direct location of Naruto, who then proceeded to bury a kunai into the back of his head and neck from 30 yards out. Naruto ran from his hiding place and pulled the kunai from the back of the man's head before holstering it and making a shadow clone to clean up his mess outside while he continued on in with his mission. Getting through Orochimaru's underground-designed bases was a simple game of what deadly trap goes here. The first hallway, uninhabited, which meant avoid the pressure plates that would drop the floor out from beneath you in a flash, dropping you into a punji pit. An easy solution to this: run along the wall. Avoid the tripwires that were set up down the long staircase leading deeper into base that would end up with poison gas secreting from the walls and saturating the area. The second branching corridor, Naruto proceeded to take a left, hoping that he was right in remembering that the first right turn in the original Oto base that he infiltrated led directly to the barracks. Not exactly the most fun start to a mission if he could accurately recall. Before leaving, however, he stuck a charge on the ceiling of the exact spot where the three paths met, using the low light of the base to hide it. Orochimaru really needed to invest in some lighting in his bases. The torches gave the place a dark, creepy, somewhat intimidating vibe. But low visibility meant guys like him could sneak in all day and have the advantage, especially over Oto shinobi and their light gray usual uniforms. Eventually, Naruto came upon a room with all kinds of communications equipment. Oh yeah. This room definitely had to go if he was going to keep doing this. As he entered the room, he had to ponder something as he moved along the wall. Why did every room with equipment like this have everything facing away from the only door in there? Even one desk or table turned around would mean that his way in would have been much harder. One guy manning the main radio out of the base with his back turned. There was no real need to flat out kill him, or even touch him. All he was getting was static anyway, so simply killing the main feed wouldn't alert him whatsoever, and then he could have the guy scrambling to get someone on the line when the place started coming down around him. Naruto followed the cable of the radio up to somewhere in the ceiling corner. With a placement like that, it probably would have led to a long-range dish of some sort outside of the base. It was quickly severed, with a shuriken cutting straight through it, leaving the same sound of static on the line. His job done, Naruto exited the room and continued down the hall. Outside the base, waiting along the jagged peaks, overlooking the area that Naruto had just entered, a pair of masked Konoha Onbu watched for any sign of trouble for the blonde inside. An Onbu with long purple hair turned to her brown-haired partner, Buntaeko. How long do you think it will take him to finish up and return outside? I don't know, Yugao, Tenzo stated. It depends on how many Oto shinobi he comes across in there. Sending him to do it himself was a better option than sending in two and having them split up or something along those lines, especially after what happened during the first base we ended up going after. You're breaking protocol, Taicho. Naruto must be rubbing off on you on that front, Yugao teased. But you're right, I guess. That alert inside of the first base we went after wasn't a laughing matter at all. I'm honestly still kind of scared from when Naruto had to access the Kyuubi's chakra to cut our way out. I can see why he was worried about using it around us. The bloodlust I felt was horrible. You were the one that insisted on checking out the barracks. Tenzo insisted before nodding. Well, either way he should be fine. Even if he gets caught, he can get himself out. I think I want this kid in Anbu when we go home. He's damn good, all things considered. Think he's okay in there? She asked. Tenzo chuckled. If he wasn't, then I guarantee that we would both know it. With Naruto inside the base, Naruto had only had to kill one more person since he had been there. A lone ninja that had almost caught sight of Naruto walking through the halls as he was on his way back to the barracks had to be dealt with. Naruto ended up breaking the neck of the unprepared man with a swift kick to the head before a fight could break out. Why he didn't just shout intruder, Naruto will never know, but that was neither here nor there. To hide the body, Naruto propped the corpse up in an off-area corner to make it look like he was trying to catch some standing Z's before someone busted him. That wasn't going to be a reasonable hiding spot for long, so he had to move. There was only one real area left for Naruto to enter and go through before he could exit. The laboratory? Orochimaru constantly had people working on experiments for him and sending him the results. It was the main reason he created Orogakure in the first place. A series of hitouts and strongholds where Orochimaru could experiment on subjects and learn ninjutsu. Every base they had been to thus far had a laboratory with tons of experiments, some reasonable, most of the inhumane variety, as well as a bunch of prisoners, many of which the Konoha ninja had discovered would have been better off dead. Naruto's interest in Orochimaru's labs were the product of the promise he had made to Anko to get the seal off of her neck. He had discovered from Orochimaru's notes back when he was a child that the origin of the cursed seal were from an organic source, most notably a human being. Orochimaru was obviously keeping him somewhere, and he figured if he was able to take out enough bases, he would be able to find the person it came from. If he could do that, then he could get Hamako to work on trying to break the seal down. He still needed DNA from Orochimaru to study, but he was sure that there was plenty of that laying around Konoha somewhere. The only ways to really free Anko that he could possibly see were to either kill Orochimaru, something he knew he wasn't going to get a chance to do anytime soon, or to find the source of the cursed seal and go from there. Orochimaru's true lack of knowledge in sealing jutsu came to the forefront once again, as instead of some sort of elaborate security device, the door to the lab was protected by a lock that Naruto was able to pick and move along from without any trouble. Steeling himself for whatever horrors he would find within, he opened the door and rolled inside, closing it behind him to keep a wandering guard from stumbling across him. The lab was empty and cleared out. Anything that he would have found useful or THEA, Naruto let out in an annoyed fashion, a red herring of a base. He should have known. If this place were truly active, the people stationed here would have been far more attentive. It would have been a rat's nest comparable to the original Otogakure that Naruto had infiltrated as a boy. Blowing this place to bits now would do nothing more than let Orochimaru know once again that someone was on to him. And that someone was obviously Konoha, since for the most part the rest of the shinobi world simply let him be. They had already destroyed 2 bases without much of a trace, and the one in the land of the sea was next to abandoned by the time they had gotten there. Taking this one out now would have definitely let the Snake Sahing know that his gambit of using expendable bases like this was definitely working to keep the heat off of him. This one was a complete and utter bust. As he went to open the door, he found it locked from the inside. Naruto jiggled the handle before realizing that he would have to pick it all over again. This place had some stupid security measures. Just as he pulled out his tools for the job, a recorded voice came over an intercom in the room. To the fool that thought that trying to inspect the remnants of my research was a good idea. If you really wanted to see what I had been doing here, all you had to do was ask. The far back wall opened up to reveal 3 men in prisoner garb. From where they were, it appeared that this room was directly connected to the cells of the prison. How fun! Especially when they looked like they were under the influence of the curse seal. Second stage. If the discolored skin, the barely human appearances were anything to go by. Naruto drew his sword from his back wordlessly as they stalked inside of the empty lab, the door to the prison closing itself behind them. These guys were nothing more than mindless savages now. Not worth his time whatsoever, but he couldn't open the damn door without getting rid of them first. Naruto waited for them all to rush him at once, an attempt to simply overwhelm him with numbers. From their approach, it was clear that they didn't even have any real training, something that he took advantage of when he cleaved the arms of one attacker off at the elbows. Before he could even let out a scream in pain, Naruto cut his head off cleanly. Naruto shoved his shoulder into a second attacker and pushed him back, allowing him to throw a back kick to the third prisoner that caught him in the body, pushing him up against the wall. Naruto quickly backpedaled and reversed his sword in order to run the man against the wall through with it while he was disoriented. The second berserk prisoner ran at the self-cornered Naruto, who grabbed the deceased man behind him by the collar and threw him over his shoulder at him. The unexpected action of his blonde prey threw the prisoner off, forcing him to stumble and slow down. More than enough time to let Naruto grab his sword like a javelin and throw it straight at the poor fool, catching him right in the head. Naruto watched the curse seals on their bodies recede with an impassive glance. He pulled the sword from his victim's head and wiped the amassed gore on the blade off on the deceased man's clothing before resheathing it and proceeding to pick the lock, swiftly getting a satisfying click signifying his success. Damn it, time to pull out. Naruto gave the room one last look before shaking his head. 1 week later, Konohagakure no Sato. Tsunade read over the report given to her by Naruto, Tenzo, and Yugao. So in the end, you didn't get anything else? Naruto shook his head in the negative. He probably builds bases, stays for a bit, and leaves, keeping some troops behind as footholds in case he needs to fall back to one. The base in the land of the sea was long abandoned. I think the last time he was actually there himself was when he put the seal on Anko and abandoned her. And about that, does Anko still want to kill us for sending her back to the village? A smirk adorned the female Kage's face. I'll leave that one a mystery for you to discover when you leave here. She then sighed and placed the written report down. Tenzo, what do you say about Naruto's performance on the mission? Tenzo took off his mask and smiled. We're all alive, aren't we, Hokage-sama? Naruto did a great job. The second base in the Land of Rivers was a bona fide death trap, but we worked it out in the end. Naruto didn't look as pleased as Tenzo did over the whole thing. It worked out if you call taking out a bunch of grunts a successful mission. 5 months of traveling and searching, and we didn't find anything on the guy that I didn't already know. We probably tipped him off about what we were doing too. I've got to find him and kill him before he can switch bodies with the Uchiha. Or kill the Uchiha, which would work out too. Where's Iro-san? The next time we do this, he needs to come with us so he can fight the snake himself. Tsunade averted her eyes. Yeah, about that. He came back while you were gone and asked me where you were. He was actually kind of pissed off when I couldn't tell him where you were because I didn't know. He said to summon him to you whenever you got back and heard this from me. Naruto gave her a strange look. How the hell am I going to do that? Tsunade shrugged. He said to summon a toad and tell them to come get him. Naruto didn't know what the hell that was going to do, but listened to his order, biting him thumb and making the hand seals. Summoning jutsu. In a puff of smoke, a toad around Naruto's size appeared. Hey bro, how you doing? It's been a while, Naruto smiled. Long time no see, Gamakichi. I've been super busy these days, but hey listen, could you get Iro-san for me, whatever that means? Gamakichi nodded. Sure thing, Nisan, I'll get him back here in a second. With that, the toad vanished in another puff of smoke. The four ninja just stayed where they were in the office, silently wondering what to do now. So, Naruto started, "What's new around here these days?" Before Tsunade could answer, Jiraiya appeared in a puff of smoke in the middle of the office with a small, elderly-looking toad by his feet. "Now remember to visit me and Ma again soon, Jiraiya-chan, and bring that apprentice of yours next time." That got Naruto's attention. Why would any of the toads actually want to meet him? From his experience with Gamabunta, he usually hated being summoned unless it was for binge-drinking purposes. Jiraiya gave the toad a grin. "I'll be sure to do that next time. Why don't you meet him yourself right now? He's just over there," he said, pointing at Naruto. The old toad looked Naruto over, seemingly appraising his worth or whatever. That was certainly what it looked like to him anyway. He finally smirked at Naruto. "He looks as if he'll do just fine. Be sure to bring him when you think he's ready." Ready for what? More secrets, damn it? And badly kept ones at that? Why did being a ninja have to be so enigmatic only when it was annoying to him? Jiraiya nodded. "We'll do Fukasaku." "Tell Shima I said goodbye." The old toad Fukasaku nodded before vanishing in smoke. Jiraiya turned to Naruto and gave him a toothy grin. "Well now, Gaki, did you have fun? Kill some Oto ninja, did you?" Naruto rubbed the back of his head. "Well, yes. Not the ones I needed to, though." "What was that all about, by the way?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Even the Sannin have to train to, kid. I went to Miyaboku since you were off gallivanting across the globe to raid and pillage." He then hooked an arm around Naruto's shoulder and looked at Tsunade. "Can I steal this kid away from your debriefing since you've got these other two with you?" Not waiting for an answer, he grabbed the boy and jumped out the window with him. "Thanks a lot, Haim." Jiraiya took Naruto to the top of the Hokage monument and found the boy incredibly amused when they arrived there. "They put Ba-chan's face up here while I was gone. She's so lucky I wasn't here or I would have made a spectacle out of it." He now paid attention to Jiraiya, who looked to be in full serious mode. "So what do you have for me now, Iro Kyofu?" Jiraiya looked at Naruto before speaking. "You do know that Tsunade did what you said and repealed the law about the Kyuubi, don't you?" Naruto shrugged. "We were moving so fast when we got back in the village and my hood was up, so I don't know. And don't tell me how things are going now either. As long as Himako is okay and nothing happened to her due to her association with me, I don't care. I don't care. If anyone did do anything to her and I find out when I get home, I'm going to go hurt the idiot that did it." Jiraiya kept up his concerned look. "Are you sure you'll be okay with people if they start cursing you in the street? I'll crack some jaws for you if you want me to, kid." Naruto chuckled. "Thanks, Iro Kyofu. But the people love and respect you. For the most part. No, don't throw your rep away for me as long as no one directly tries to attack me, or my friends. I'll be cool. They can't burn my apartment out after Hamako-chan put up all of the security stuff I told her to do, so only direct attacks against us would have a chance of doing anything. If they do, I'll just have to cripple something as punishment." Jiraiya's sweat dropped. "Harsh, Gaki." Naruto gave him a dry look. "Gaara would suffocate them in sand and crush them to death. A broken arm or leg is me being nice, just so you know." Jiraiya patted Naruto on the shoulder. "I don't know how Minato and Kushina would feel about the whole you crippling the people attacking you thing. Well, actually, Kushina would cheer you on while you did it, and probably even jump in herself. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I know that your growth as a ninja and your whole attitude over the Kyuubi would make them incredibly proud of you." Naruto smiled up at the man. "Thanks a lot, Iro Kyofu. I'm not really sure about that, though. I'm baptized in blood. How could a hero like the fourth Hokage consider me anything to be proud of? I'm not even talking about my time in Root anymore. I'm talking about now. Do you know how many lives I just got through ending, either directly or remotely? I'm 14 years old, and since the age of 5, I've killed more people than many war veterans even have to. I know I've done more than any other ninja my age, except for Gaara. Gaara's definitely killed way more people than me. I don't even think I'm close." Jiraiya sighed and flicked Naruto in the forehead. "Are you dumb, kid? Do you know how many ninja your old man killed in his time? I can assure you that your body count has absolutely no chance of holding any kind of candle to his. How many do you think you killed?" Naruto estimated in his head. "I would say between 200 to 300. especially in the one place where we got caught. Jiraiya ruffled his hair. Minato killed over 300 Iway ninja in one battle. By himself. Before that, I think he killed about 100 ninja and razed their camp to the ground when they ended up capturing your mother. Hell, I had to pretty much almost destroy an entire village by myself. If you call yourself a killer, then what are we? That's what we have to be, Naruto. That's the way things are in the shinobi world. In reality, in the eyes of the public, the only difference between butchers and heroes are the colors of the uniforms of the men you've killed. As messed up as that is, Naruto said. I guess you're right. I had a bit of a punk-ass moment there. As long as you're sure they would have been proud of me, I believe it too, Ero Kyofu. Alright, now I have to go home and see how my roommate is doing. Jiraiya then got a lecherous grin on his face. How's that girl doing anyway, Gaki? She adjusting to the village, okay? Naruto glared at him. Get that look off of your face, you damn pervert. And how would I know? I've been gone for almost half a year. I guess I'll find out when I go back home. Naruto waved at him. Later. Don't be a stranger now. Naruto then used body flicker to disappear from the mountain. Jiraiya smiled to himself as he watched the leaves settle from Naruto's body flicker. I wonder how good of a sage that kid would make. Deciding to see what the people of the village thought of him now, rather than wait for a time where he had to actually do something amidst the people and be caught off guard, he decided to stroll through town on the streets on his way home. Much like before, adults didn't try to look at him. But much to his surprise, instead of having angry looks on their faces, quite a few of them looked down at the ground. That had never happened before. Demon. A passing middle-aged man said as Naruto walked past his position outside of a building. Your mother, was Naruto's eloquent reply. The man stepped out from his position and marched into the street to confront Naruto. What was that? I don't have to put up with you anymore. You don't have the Hokage's protection anymore. She obviously sees what you really are. Naruto didn't even turn around. Yeah, she sees me as someone that is able to handle his own business, so I have one question for you, sir. Are you my business? You tell me, he said as he pulled out a pocket knife and ran at Naruto, only to be stopped by the blade of Naruto's sword at his throat. Naruto sighed as he looked at the man from a side gaze. That was a great idea. Let's attack the trained ninja armed to his teeth with a stupid pocket knife that's probably too dull to even cut notebook paper. Naruto used the blade of the sword to slide the knife out of the man's hand before smacking him on both of his kneecaps. Dropping him to the ground in a bowing position, I had her take away that law for your benefit. Because keeping the secret that wasn't really much of a secret in the first place was getting obnoxious. However, just because you won't get Anbu on you for speaking out about this doesn't mean that someone won't kick your ass for attacking me. I'll do it myself, I'll just enjoy it better. He then used the flat of his sword to knock him out. Naruto looked down at the unconscious man, and back up at the villagers who had just watched him knock a grown man out, with no effort whatsoever. Naruto laughed nervously as he sheathed his sword. Nice day, huh? Sorry about that. Please carry on with your business. Naruto then proceeded to whistle a jaunty tune as he continued making his way home. From within a nearby restaurant, a group of young ninja somewhat knowledgeable about the scar-faced blonde had witnessed the spectacle. A group of 10 Konoha ninja were celebrating the fact that the 4 that were still genin would be traveling to the upcoming Chunin exam in Suna, and had seen just how hostile things could get for Naruto. Each of them sat in silence as they watched him walk off on his own through the window, whistling the entire way. Yo, Hamako-chan! Naruto yelled as he entered his apartment. I'm back! Hamako came from the back room with a gentle smile on her face. Welcome home, Naruto-sama. I hope you're unharmed from your mission. Naruto nodded as he started taking his gear off. Yeah, I'm fine, Hamako-chan. I'm just drained. I forgot how long those missions like that really are. Were you okay while I was gone? Yes, I was fine. Tayuya-san and the Ikiraku family were very helpful to me while you were gone, and I even got to meet the members of your graduating class when they came by asking for you. Hamako admitted to Naruto as he took off his hooded vest that probably had some kind of leftover residue from his violent activities over the last few months. Hamako scrunched up her nose as he walked by her. You smell like blood, master. Naruto frowned. Sorry. Throughout the mission there was a lot of it, and a considerable amount got on me, repeatedly. I need a long shower and a good meal after this. He yawned loudly. What have you been doing to occupy your time? Hamako winked at him. Oh, just a few personal projects. I have to say, Master, the seal on your stomach looks very familiar to me, she said as she looked at the visible seal on Naruto's belly. It looks like something derived from the sealing style of Uzu Shogakure. Naruto made a thoughtful noise. You can study it after I shower, eat, and sleep. Anything interesting happen while I was gone? Or did you just watch the wallpaper to entertain yourself? Hokage-sama revealed your Jinchuriki status to the village, Hamako said, as she picked up his vest and walked towards his hamper to drop the piece of clothing inside. It was a mildly entertaining spectacle somewhat. Naruto smirked. So how many of the old fogies called for my death when she was through talking? Hamako shrugged. More than a few, actually. But then the shinobi that had met and knew of the things you had done in your career thus far shut them up, especially the two that are always guarding the gate. It was amazing. You probably would have gotten a kick out of it. Note to self. Naruto said, send Izumo and Kotetsu a fruit basket or something for being good people. 3 weeks later, once again, Naruto's training took him deeply into the forest of death. He put his attempts to learn how to utilize the Kyuubi's chakra on the back burner for the time being, as he wanted to learn the nuances of using his sword. The rate at which it drained his chakra when he transformed the Senenki no Ken into Sinen Kugake was ridiculous. He couldn't even keep it up for too long without tapping into the Kyuubi's chakra, and even then, getting more than several minutes of use out of them was seen as a success. How the hell did anyone use this thing without draining themselves dry? Or maybe that was why it was a sealed heirloom in the first place. Hey, maybe he could use it by giving it to his enemies to use themselves. Just let them kick his ass until they drop dead of chakra exhaustion and then take it back. Nobody would ever see that coming. From experimentation, the blades cut through pretty much everything like a guillotine blade, even without him circulating wind chakra between them, which was good, because the damn blades absorbed his chakra like a sponge. The transformed blades couldn't cut him, and with them his taijutsu was extensively more dangerous than it ever could have been otherwise. Other than that, he was having more trouble manipulating his new lightning element than he had been expecting. He couldn't even hold the chakra in his hand like he could with his wind chakra without damaging himself. The damage would come by way of him shocking the feeling out of his hands for hours. He couldn't practice getting the feel of the chakra with his shadow clone because they would dispel after taking the damage, and this was the only way for him to train the element for the time being. His elemental Rasengan was a work in progress as well. Adding his wind chakra to the orb ended up blowing up in his face, or more accurately on his arm, giving him deep gashes that took time for him to heal even with his advanced healing. He joked to himself that he needed a medic nin on hand for whenever he wanted to train these days, the way all of his current projects were going. Learning his seals with Hamako was a very self-esteem crushing experience, to say the least. Every concept he had been working on prior to bringing her back to Konoha had been burned as she had proceeded to verbally tear down every single original idea he had come up with. Her reasoning being that everything he had made could have been classified as a forbidden technique, and not for the good reasons, like they were strong, or that if they fell into the wrong hands they could endanger Konoha. No, they were forbidden because everything he had come up with had a greater than not chance of flat-out killing him if he had really gone through with their usage. So as far as Hamako was concerned, he had to start straight from square one, and she had half a mind to find Jiraiya, and make him sit through her lessons as well if he had really been the one to introduce Naruto to those abominations that the boy had the gall to call seals. Even his custom explosive tags that he designed to take the Kyuubi's chakra were flawed. The timer on them was next to 2 seconds before detonation, and with the mass of the explosion that really wasn't enough time to get safely away. As far as she was concerned, the only thing she didn't have to reteach him was how to make his own ink and how to write the seals out. The girl was usually very kind and patient normally. However, when she was teaching Naruto sealing jutsu, she was a very harsh taskmaster. Instead of letting him freestyle seals the way that Jiraiya had done from just about day one, letting him get along through trial and error, she had him break down seals that she had put together for him by order of difficulty. Then she would have him do it again under a time limit. She wanted him to be good enough to identify every major nuance of any seal he would come across at naught but a glance, much like she herself was able to. Looking at what Konoha had referred to as seal masters had actually gotten Hamako to laugh. Not smile, not giggle, but full-board laugh uproariously. As far as she could see, Kakashi was a hack and a novice, and Jiraiya was overrated. So when Naruto was called into Tsunade's office, he figured that this was as good of a break as he was going to get from the grind he was putting himself through on a daily basis. "What's up, Ba-chan?" Naruto asked. "And before you even complain about it, if anyone in the entire world has a reason or an excuse to call you Ba-chan, it's me, and you know it." Tsunade's eye twitched. The brat had a point, but she still didn't necessarily have to like it, and she was still his boss, relation or not. "Listen up, brat. As you know, a Chunin exam is taking place in Suna this time around, and the finals are rolling around in about 2 weeks." Naruto blinked blankly. No, I didn't know that. Why the hell would I know that?" A paperweight to the head was his response. Gah! That was a reasonable question. Tsunade put her hand down with a smirk on her face, satisfied with the throw. "Anyway, I'm taking you and Shizune with me for my security." She pointed towards the black-haired woman standing by the desk, waving pleasantly. Naruto waved back before groaning. "Ah, another escort mission. Fine, whatever, it's in order. And speaking of Suna, where the hell's my money? I gave you the DNA, which means I gave them the DNA. Why am I not rolling in dough right now?" "Yes, about that." Tsunade said, "They don't feel comfortable transporting that much money themselves, so they've laid that responsibility on us to collect, which is another reason that I'm assigning you to my personal guard detail." "Oh." Naruto looked at her vapidly. "Well, thank you then, Ba-chan. But do you think I'm really your guy in case it all goes down while we're there? Shouldn't you bring someone like Kakashi-sensei or even Iro-san? Tsunade let out a laugh. "You don't think you're up for this? You killed a top-level missing ninja that had eluded capture for 20 years and destroyed Otogakure bases. You're a jonin in everything but title, kid." "So," Naruto said somewhat testingly, "promote me." A grin worked its way onto his face. Tsunade let a wry grin of her own show. "Maybe later. I'll think about it. Anyway, tie up all of your loose ends, Naruto. You're coming with me and Shizune to Suna." Naruto smirked. "If I yelled road trip out the window at the top of my lungs, would you hit me?" "Kabuto, what does that make? The 4th or the 5th of my bases that have been hit in the last half year?" The medic in question adjusted the glasses on his face as he smirked. "The last one that was hit last month makes 5, Orochimaru-sama. And I think you'll find the person that is responsible for the damage to be extremely interesting." Kabuto placed a videotape in the nearby VCR that revealed Naruto fighting the cursed seal prisoners in the empty lab. "I guess I do owe him some thanks, though. He did free me of the control that Sasori had over me if the buzz over the bounty is anything to be believed. Well, now isn't that interesting? Little Naruto-kun is growing up. It looks like your rival hasn't been losing any steps since you left Konoha, has he, Sasuke-kun?" A pair of spinning Sharingan eyes glowed in the dark. The Dobi is nowhere near my level anymore." His glare grew intense as he saw Naruto easily dispose of his opponents with little effort. "I'll be sure to prove that the next time we meet. He'll never get a victory over me again." Orochimaru chuckled in the background. "That still remains to be seen, Sasuke-kun, perhaps. Just maybe Naruto here is more special than you." Sasuke bared his teeth in the darkness as the cursed seal ran across his face. "There's nothing special about that loser. And soon I'll finish what we started myself. First him, then Itachi." "Are you all prepared to leave, Master?" "Yes, Hamako-chan." "You've got all of your weapons?" "With all of the scrolls I've got and the stuff I carry on my person at all times, I'm armed to the teeth." "You've got your suppression seals for the Kyuubi's chakra?" "Yes, I've already given enough to Tsunade Abakan already that she could probably use one to stop me every day on this mission from now on forward, though." "Well, it is one of only 2 things that you can adequately make. Now, why did you have to go and kill my self-esteem like that, Hamako-chan?" Naruto was leaning against the front gate in the same clothing he had taken to wearing recently with Hamako doting over him, before he was to leave to escort Tsunade to Sunagakure for the finals of the Chunin exam. He hadn't really seen anyone from his graduating class around town since he had returned, but he then put two and two together and realized they must have all made it to the finals of the exams. Hinata and Shino had been promoted last time around, so they were probably on a mission. Shikamaru probably went with Asuma to watch the proceedings. And Team Guy, who had been promoted immediately after their next exams, were probably busy, because being a rookie Chunin did suck. You weren't high profile enough to really put in for downtime, but you were considered just good enough to get back to backroom missions. Naruto gave a glance to his peasant companion. Are you going to be alright while I'm gone? Hamako rolled her eyes with a smile on her face. I was fine when you left for half a year, Naruto-sama. I don't think a week or so without you here will be too much to handle. You will be missing my birthday, though, she said, pouting playfully. Oh, I'm sorry, Hamako-chan, Naruto said, actually somewhat upset by this. He had been gone for half a year, leaving her pretty much on her own. All she really had were his own loose acquaintances to block being lonely. It did make him wonder if she had really been okay with him leaving, or if she had just been putting up a facade so that he didn't worry. She smiled and waved it off. It's all right, master. You don't get to dictate your own schedule, I know. And since I am your servant, I am also basically controlled by your schedule. Naruto frowned. You're more than a servant, Hamako-chan. You're way more important than you make yourself seem. Even if you don't agree with me, your master froze you inside the vault for a reason. Hamako nodded. I think I know why he did it. I'm certain he knew that the Uzumaki bloodline was too stubborn to just die out. And he put me there so that I could assist a future generation of them upon being discovered. Why else would he have placed me in an area that could only be accessed by one of your lineage? So the way you speak as if it isn't my job to do these things for you, that is actually contradictory, because you are the entire reason I exist. Okay, this girl was really starting to remind him of Haku, only she seemed more prone to emotion, most of them positive. She was really receptive to the whole being his underling thing, something he didn't think he would ever get accustomed to, but she simply accepted it right off the bat. Hell, she suggested it, and insisted on it in the first place. Naruto shrugged mentally. If this was what she wanted, he couldn't just keep trying to get her to stop. Hopefully she wouldn't get too into the whole servant thing, but if he had his way, he would wean her onto her own independence. Naruto pulled her into a hug, catching her somewhat off guard. I'll bring you back a present, okay? Something cool, because it's not like I'm going to be short on funds when this mission is over. Just take care of yourself. Hamako smiled serenely and returned his hug. What if I get something from Sai? She whispered to him, knowing that Naruto wanted to keep everything about his relationship with Root under wraps. Naruto whispered right back, just keep it until I get back. I wouldn't be able to handle anything else on this mission anyway. Okay, Naruto-sama. Naruto let go of the hug as Tsunade and Shizune came into view, allowing Hamako to bow to the blonde woman. Good morning, Hokage-sama, Shizune-san. Tsunade smiled at the girl. Hello, Hamako. Has this knucklehead been treating you well? She asked, ignoring the indignant rambling from Naruto in response. A slight laugh came from Hamako. Yes, Hokage-sama, things are very well here in Konoha. Naruto-sama is a good boy. Naruto sweat dropped. I am basically a near 15-year-old man that has been known to kill people with twice my age and experience, and I'm being talked about like a 5-year-old by my village leader and the girl that lives with me and has sworn my allegiance to me. A lot of those things in that sentence sounded good, and I'm sure you can guess which one didn't seem so great. Hamako turned to him. I am still older than you, master. Naruto sighed. I know. How old are you going to be anyway when your birthday comes around? I will be 15. Hamako added helpfully. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and looked away. Well, I figured that much. I was meaning more along the lines of how old will you really be? In actual years, not in cryo time. The street got awfully silent after he said that. What? What did I say? Hamako narrowed her eyes on Naruto. I will be 15, master. Naruto looked around in confusion, as if he were caught in some kind of loop while trying to run through the mental math in his head. failing miserably because no one really ever told him exactly when Uzushio fell. Just saying that it was around 20 years ago, which could have meant anything. I know that, but for real, how old will you be? I will be 15, master. Hamako asserted sternly, unconsciously leaking killing intent. He didn't quite get why he was getting the vibe of him about to be getting disemboweled from not only Hamako, but from Tsunade and to a lesser but still noticeable extent Shizune. But he decided that in this case, getting to the truth about a badly kept secret could actually be detrimental to him for once, and figured that smiling and nodding was his best way out of this. Thusly Naruto gave her a toothy grin and a thumbs up, ignoring the feeling of impending death when he did so. So, super amazing expensive gift for you when I come back, right? Yes, please. Hamako perked back up. Be safe on your mission, Naruto-sama. With that, Naruto bade her goodbye and set out with Tsunade and Shizune towards Sunagakure. 3 days later, the land of wind en route to Sunagakure. For the last time, Naruto. Tsunade said, currently decked out in full Kage gear as they made their way through the desert. You aren't wearing the robes and the hat, so stop asking. Come on, Tsunade-bachan. Naruto tried to reason, his hood up to avoid the desert sun beating down from above. Think of it like this. Just let me henge into you and you into me and I'll be your body double until we get to Suna. It's a totally sound idea. Besides, I'm gonna be wearing that stuff soon enough anyway. I might as well get used to it now. Tsunade shot an amused glance to her left where Naruto was standing. Jiraiya said you were gunning for Hokage these days. What makes you think you actually have what it takes, brat? Naruto put on a thinking face. Well, I'm Minato Namikaze's kid, the remnant of a powerful clan, and loosely related to you, so I have the lineage, one would say. If you would promote me again, I could start proving that I'm strong enough more than I already have. Oh, and I already beat you back when we first met, so I have a recorded win over a sighing. Tsunade got a tick mark on her head. That was not a recorded fight, you idiot. I was using one finger and was taking it easy on you, and I still ended up knocking you flat on your spiky blonde ass. Naruto grinned at her. I never told you to go easy on me, and you made the terms of the fight making it an exhibition bout. You ended up using your entire hand to wail on my face, thus you broke the stipulation and lost. Therefore I won, therefore I have a victory over you. And I have witnesses. Shizune Nikan, Iro Kyofu and Tantan all saw me take you back to school. You should really stop talking before I pick you up and chuck you in Suna's general direction. Tsunade threatened. Naruto's eyes were shaded by the hood draped over his face. That actually sounds pretty useful. He looked over at the dark-haired medic holding a small pig. Do you want Tsunade-bachan to throw you across the desert to Shizune Nikan? It has to beat walking. I hate the desert. Tsunade flicked Naruto in the back of the head, propelling him forward into a sand dune. As a smile came to her face, Shizune rushed over to dig Naruto out alongside Tan. Naruto-kun, are you all right? Tsunade laughed as she neared her bodyguards. Shizune, I hit the runt harder than that on a near-daily basis. He's fine. Naruto popped out of the dune, hacking out sand and brushing it out of his hair. That was totally unnecessary, by the way. A shut the hell up Naruto would have worked just fine. I do follow your orders, after all. Tsunade picked him up by his collar and dropped him back on his feet as they kept walking. I said to stop talking. Naruto scowled as Shizune picked the rest of the sand out of his hair. No, you suggested that I stop talking. If you had directly told me to shut up, I would have. I'm not insubordinate, Bacha. If you order me to do something, I'm going to do it no matter how I feel about it. You don't question orders, Naruto-kun, ever? Shizune asked as she kept messing with his hair. Naruto looked over at Tsunade. She knows, right? About how I was trained? Tsunade nodded. I told her after you told me. She knows not to say anything about it. All right then, Naruto shrugged. Yeah, I question orders. You hear me mouth off about some of my missions all the time, because griping and nitpicking is fun. But I never say I'm not going to do something. I always take the missions, and after I accept, I don't complain. You should know why I don't, Shizune Nikan. She frowned and nodded. Because of Danzo and Root, right? Naruto pulled his hood back up when he felt she was done. Well, Danzo Gigi tried putting his stupid seal on the back of my tongue. but I kept breaking it. When it would activate and paralyze me, I would just get pissed off, flare the Kyuubi's chakra, and the damn thing would disappear. He must have tried to re-educate me about 7 or 8 times because of it. Old bastard, that shit was painful. Shizune looked appalled. That's awful. Naruto shook his head. That's root. He wanted obedient operatives, and I originally went to him, not the other way around. I wanted to be a ninja so bad, so while I would never let him own me, I did do everything he told me to do. He didn't have to train me after he realized that I wouldn't be like all of the others, but he did anyway, and while his training was unspeakably harsh, I was the one that asked for it, and it's the entire reason I can do the things I do today. Naruto's eye twitched and he grabbed his head before speaking in monotone. How? Shizune looked at him strangely for saying, How randomly? What happened? Naruto rubbed his temple. When I relieved you at night watch at 2 in the morning, I made a ton of shadow clone to guard the area as well. Before we left, I told them to train my nature manipulation, and the bastards all decided to dispel at the same time. Tsunade heaved a sigh. Don't train while you're on a mission, brat. What's wrong with you? Naruto growled lowly at the pain of his headache, only to exhale in relief when a pair of glowing green hands ran over the sides of his head. Thank you, Shizune-Nikan. And technically, Ba-chan, it isn't me training into the ground, I just got a headache. You can get a headache eating a damn ice cream cone. And before you say anything, that was not insubordination, that was an opinion on my own personal well-being. Whatever. Tsunade let the situation drop as the sight of Suna came up in the distance. Look alive. Shizune knows the drill, but you know nothing about being a dignitary, Naruto. Before you say anything about your mission way back when in Kumo. You weren't anything then because Hamura never let you do anything or go anywhere with him. You were a glorified tag-along that was left to your own devices. Naruto frowned because she was right. Oh, well, consider this a learning experience. Tsunade gave Naruto a business-like look. Here, you will need to tone it down some. Talk to me before you do anything. Causing international incidents aren't going to fly here like they did in Kumogakure. Keep your senses sharp, I'm counting on you to intercept any threats that may come my way. And don't expect that just because we're in an allied village filled with ninja that I may not be attacked. If you have any questions or concerns, or you notice something off, don't hesitate to talk to me or Shizune about it. That is what your job is. Naruto nodded in complete seriousness. Shizune gave him a small smile. We know you're good at the assault part of being a shinobi, Naruto-kun. You've proven that. But this is really the most high-profile escort job you've ever done. It's not about going out to find the enemy and destroy them. It's about keeping the danger away from something important, about keeping it safe. In this case, that something is Tsunade-sama. Tsunade snorted. Please, Shizune, you make it seem like I'm some fragile glass figurine. I'm not Hokage just because of my pretty face, you know, Naruto snickered, especially since it's just a powerful henge. Don't kill your bodyguard, Ba-chan, that's counterproductive! Naruto yelled as he ducked and covered his head in anticipation of a strike that Tsunade had already wound up for. Shizune's sweat dropped and nudged him forward from behind, getting him to stumble ahead. Naruto chuckled as he regained his balance. Yeah, don't worry. I'll do everything I have to do to make sure I don't let either of you down. Just remember that I'm not really accustomed to hanging back and watching things unfold. I'm more of the go there and beat the crap out of that kind of guy. So if I start stepping out of line, feel free to check me. Non-physically, of course. Tsunade had a serious face on as they neared the entrance of the village, guarded by 2 Suna ninja. Well, just be ready for rapid response in any event. One of the ninja guarding the way and immediately came up to the traveling party. Welcome to Sunagakure Hokage-sama. The Kazuya Kage has requested your presence at his office upon your arrival, if you will permit it. Tsunade nodded, of course. I trust that my security detail are allowed to remain with me throughout the proceedings. Yes, Hokage-sama. If you would follow me to the Kazuya Kage residence. The guard led them into the village. On the way to the meeting, Naruto noticed that the looks the group had been getting were no longer hostile as they were for him when he had escorted Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro back home following the invasion that had taken place before Tsunade's inauguration as Hokage. The looks were more like awe, something Naruto obviously chalked up to the fact that Tsunade was walking through their village in her robes. As they arrived at the Kazekage's building and were escorted all the way to the office, Naruto had been expecting to be taken straight to the council chamber that he ended up sitting in for 3 hours during his last trip to Suna. But they ended up being taken straight to an office with an ornate door, not too different from the one that signified Tsunade's office. Naruto raised his eyebrows in curiosity. Huh. Well, I guess that it has been 2 years since the Kazekage was killed. It's only natural someone else took the spot. Wondering who it was, Naruto followed alongside Tsunade into the office after the door had been opened by the guard, and Naruto froze in place when he realized exactly who it was sitting behind the desk. No way. Tsunade smirked as she saw Naruto's reaction out of the corner of her eye. Even Shizune had to give off a small giggle. Greetings, Kazekage Dono. It is good to see you in good health, Hokage Dono, said a monotone voice. And you as well, Naruto Uzumaki. The spiky short red hair and the kanji for love on the left side of his forehead, dressed in Kazekage robes, was none other than Gaara. Naruto looked between the robed Tsunade and the robed Gaara about 4 times. Can I speak freely, Hokage-sama? Kazekage-sama? You may. Were the responses from the 2 leaders, though one was exponentially more jovial in tone than the other. Thank you. Naruto nodded before taking a breath. What the fuck, Gaara? You can't write a letter, and nobody thought that this was something I would like to know? Tsunade had an amused grin on her face. He was given the position and inaugurated while you were off on your little rampage against Orochimaru's bases. How were we supposed to contact you to tell you when we couldn't even find you? Gaara then spoke. Besides, your Hokage decided it would be far more amusing if you didn't know when you came to collect your bounty. And speaking of that, there are 2 people that want to speak to you about that. Naruto looked at him curiously. Still not overseeing Gaara as the Kazekage, well, sure. As long as the reason they want to see me isn't to kill me. I get enough of that. He stood in place just staring at Gaara, so... Kazekage, huh? Running a village? How's that working out for you? A small smirk came to Gaara's face. Fantastic, actually. You should try it. Naruto returned the smirk. Oh, I will, just you wait. If you're already Kazekage, then all I have to do is wait for Tsunade Bakken to retire, and that damn hat is all mine. Where's your hat, by the way? Gaara shrugged. I don't like wearing the hat indoors. Naruto's eyes widened. I would bronze that hat and have it surgically attached to my scalp if I could. I don't get you guys. The third wore it all the time, and so would I. They would literally have to pry the damn thing from my cold dead hands. Gaara was legitimately interested in Naruto's choice of a dress for Tsunade. Uzumaki, why do you refer to the Hokage in such a familiar manner? Naruto shrugged, aside from the fact that she let me speak freely and hasn't told me to shut up yet. After a bit of digging, I found that she is legitimately related to me way down the line, so it's appropriate. Tsunade interjected. All right, Naruto, that's enough for now. The Kazekage has called us here for business. Gaara nodded. Yes, I have invited you here to observe the final round of the Chunin exam selection tournament due to Konoha having 4 participants involved. However, I have also invited the village of Iwa to watch the event as well. Naruto got stone-faced at the sound of Iwa, as did Tsunade. Gaara took notice of this. Is there a problem? I understand the latent aggression from your 2 villages after the war all those years ago, but can we not let the matter settle? Naruto looked at Tsunade, who nodded her consent. I'm kind of the son of Minato Namikaze Gaara. I've never really said anything about it since I found out because for the most part it doesn't really matter, but in this case it's kind of a big deal. Gaara showed no surprise to the revelation, I see. That is somewhat astonishing, but it makes sense. Most Jinchuriki are related in some way to the leaders of their villages to instill loyalty. Though I do not see how that would have worked if you still didn't know. Anyway, Naruto continued, what's the over-under that the Tsuchikage sends assassins after me after he realizes who I am? All it's going to take is one good look at me for any of them to hate my guts. Tsunade sighed and took a seat by Gaara's desk. If it's still the same old man from when I was a kid, then he'll definitely know you at first glance. The fact that your Jinchuriki status is now common knowledge would only make that worse. Tell me why you told me to let that out again? I'm already being pursued by Akatsuki. Keep your eyes open for that, by the way, Gara. But anyway, at this point, if it gets out, and Iwa starts sending people to kill me, there isn't a snowball's chance in hell they'll actually send someone capable of finishing me off. Maybe if I were my old stupid sealed self, then most definitely, I would be a dead man walking right now. But I just got through killing Suna's most infamous missing ninja, and have been obliterating Oto bases for the last half year. He blinked and looked at Tsunade. Am I in the bingo book yet? She shook her head. No, you haven't caused any kind of stir with any nations yet, so you're not on anyone's radar. And you don't want to be in a bingo book anyway, Brad. What's wrong with you? I'm trying to get famous, Ba-chan. Naruto shouted before silently musing to himself. It's my mission after all. Whoever becomes Hokage when no one has ever even heard of you. That's why Danzo Jiji found it so hard to get his name in the argument after my old man died. He had spent so much time running black ops and underground stuff that people had forgotten about him both in the village and abroad. He was too good at orchestrating it and keeping himself in the shadows. Gara returned to the issue at hand in any case. Do you think I should position any protection around Uzumaki? I would rather not have another war start at another Chunin exam if I could help it. He looked at Naruto. You seem to have very bad luck with Chunin exams. Tell me about it. Naruto sighed. I think it would be better for the world in general if I just stopped knowing about these things. I'm 2 for 2 with these things so far, so it can't just be a coincidence. I'm not even in this one. Gara placed his hands together on his desk. Well, now I would like to speak to Hokage Dono about matters alone. I have to ask your guardians to step outside of the room. Naruto looked at Tsunade, who nodded to him and gestured for him to leave along with Shizune. Gara spoke again just as they reached the door. Those wanting to speak with you about your run-in with Sasori will find you outside of the office while we have our meeting inside. With that, Naruto and Shizune exited. 2 hours later, Naruto and Shizune were seated on a bench in the hall leading towards the office, simply waiting for either the meeting to end or for whoever it was that wished to speak with Naruto. So you're telling me that I can't ever learn Bachan's strength-enhancing jutsu because it requires medic nin control. But if you can use it, then why don't you? Shizune laughed sheepishly. I never liked using taijutsu or fighting in general. All of the things I use in combat are generally ranged techniques with poison. As of now, the only people that can use that technique are Tsunade Asama, myself, and Asakura Haruno. Naruto's eyes widened. When the hell did she learn how to do that? Shizune smiled at him. She started learning it a few months ago while you were gone, and during her stay in Suna, she finished her training for the technique. She sent a letter back saying she did. She's very gifted at medical ninjutsu as well. Well, good for her. Naruto grinned before returning his face to a placid outlook. But I can't ever learn it. Oh well, I'll just have to get along with raw brute force and keep developing that. Shizune blinked. How strong physically are you, Naruto-kun? With or without the Kyuubi? He questioned in return. Both, Shizune said. Naruto thought on it. Without the Kyuubi, I would say that the only people in Konoha that can actually outmuscle me are adult Akimichi, my guy, and of course, Tsunade Abachan. Rock Lee might be able to do it if he's been doing guys training for all of these years, and I'm sure Iro Kyofu can do it too. But the last time we sparred, I couldn't get him to go all out on me, so I wouldn't know for sure. With the Kyuubi, well, let's just say that Bachan isn't the only one that can finger flick walls down. Naruto Uzumaki. The attention of the two was grabbed by a diminutive elderly woman walking up to them. Are you Naruto Uzumaki, the boy credited with the defeat of Sasori? Naruto and Shizune looked at each other before Naruto spoke up. I am. Who's the one curious about it? The old woman gave Naruto an appraising look before speaking once more. I am Kyo, and I am the grandmother of the man you killed in battle. Both Konoha ninja paled at that revelation. Damn it! I can't believe this crap is going to start another war. He came after me. Chiyo then bowed before them. I apologize for Sasori's actions against you. By now it is common knowledge who you are, Uzumaki-san. You became somewhat famed around Suna for being the only person that has ever defeated our Kazekage in battle, and your character has been vouched for countless times by the Kazekage and his siblings. If you engaged him in battle, then he attacked you first. He was a missing nin regardless of that anyway. So, Naruto felt out. Am I still getting paid? Naruto, you glorious bastard. Was Naruto's warning before he was picked up and engulfed in a hug from a larger-than-him Kankuro, who rushed over upon seeing him. I can't believe you actually defeated Sasori. And you brought him back. I've got permission from Chiyoba-sama to use him as a new puppet. Good to see you too, Kankuro. Naruto strained out before he looked at Kankuro strangely. Wait, I obliterated his body. How the hell could you use him as a puppet? Kankuro grinned. He had spare bodies on him, sealed on a piece that you actually left intact. Naruto nodded. Of course he did. Well, it's a good thing I hit the heart when I destroyed him, isn't it? So Gaara's Kazuya Kage, have you been promoted yet? If possible, Kankuro's grin got wider. I'm a Jonin now. Temari is too. Naruto's eye twitched, because that's fair and everything. I can't get promoted by Bachan to save my life, and you guys just sleepwalk right past me in rank. He turned to Shizune. When this is over, I seriously need to put in for a promotion. Speaking of Temari, Kankuro trailed off, looking at Naruto in amusement. She's looking to have some choice words with you. You're so lucky she isn't here right now. Me, Naruto asked. What the hell did I do? Kankuro leaned against the wall near the bench as Naruto sat back next to Shizune. Well, you haven't even spoken to her since we left Konoha after the joint mission for your Uchiha kid. It's been 2 years since we've even talked to you, kid. Naruto almost face-faulted. I've been busy. Between the ridiculous training I had to do to master my element, missions to other nations, and the long assignment to hunt for Orochimaru's bases, I have had almost no downtime. How could I have possibly visited? And about that, Kankuro added, ever since Gaara has been Kazuya Kage, she's been Suna's liaison to Konoha, and she didn't know about your mission when she wanted to see you. And she's very pissed off for a myriad of reasons that I'm not going to go into right now. Besides the not seeing us part, she's also mad because went off and got into a fight to the death with Suna's greatest puppeteer all on your own. Chiyo was still standing there as the boys had been catching up, but it had finally swung back to a topic of her interest. How were you confronted by Sasori anyway? Naruto sighed. I didn't go looking for the guy. He came to me when I was perusing through my clan's ancestral village ruins. Him and some bomber freak with mouths in his hands. Deidara was his name. Somehow I isolated Sasori and was able to kill him before the other retreated. If I don't see her before I leave you, tell her that wasn't my fault. I am a victim here. Kankuro nodded. Sure thing. But that will only work if you're going to be gone by sunrise, because she's going to be back tomorrow. Naruto's sweat dropped. You're an ass, you know that? So I hear from Temari on a daily basis. Kankuro said as he started walking away. See you later, Naruto. Chiyo turned to follow him out as well. Before you leave, be sure to allow the slug woman to let you collect your money, young man. You're getting quite a hefty sum for it. Naruto nodded in agreement and looked at Shizune as he had picked up on the way that Chiyo had referred to Tsunade. The dark-haired medic shrugged. She doesn't like Tsunade-sama because she kept countering her poisons during the Second Great Ninja War. People seem to be very good at holding grudges. Naruto sighed. Old people especially. Oh man. If that lady is mad at you and Ba-chan for her just coming up with counters to her poisons like 30 years ago, then how pissed off at me is that Tsuchi Kage going to be after my old man single-handedly made their village his bitch 16 years ago? Shizune patted Naruto on the back. It's okay, Naruto-kun, he might. She cut herself off when she realized how accurate that statement could have been, and laughed nervously. Well, maybe you could wear your hood for your entire time here. Naruto slumped in his seat. Aw man, that fucking thing is hot. The next day, Naruto, Shizune, and Tsunade were seated in a Suna cafe with Tsunade actually permitted to indulge in a little sake, due to the vacation-esque feel that the entire trip had. Naruto was sitting and practicing his seal-making speed on napkins, while Tsunade drank. Shizune had a small cake for herself, and Taunton had a small bowl of corn. Why did we get here so early? The fights aren't until tomorrow. And where is everybody right now? Can't we see them before the finals? Tsunade downed her saucer and looked at Naruto. Brat, we can't just run off to see them like that. My apprentice is in the damn thing tomorrow. Don't you think I would like to see how she's doing before tomorrow? But I'm also the leader of the village, and any interference from a Kage on a competitor's training would be seen as some kind of favoritism, even if it was just to see how any of them are doing. We are in a foreign village, after all. They would know and use it when it came time to judge on their growth and skill. She looked at the scowl on his face and realized his problem with a sigh. You are so bored it's killing you right now, aren't you? Naruto gave her a hopeless look, desperately. I can't even train and I can only work on so much sealing jutsu stuff without Hamako-chan here. Because if she finds out that I've been trying to freestyle seals without her permission again, she'll kill me. Oh, kill me. He let out a small shiver. She's so sweet. How can she be so damnably scary too? It's a paradox. He turned puppy dog eyes to Shizune. Can we please spar, Shizune-nikan? Shizune quickly averted her eyes. We can't fight Naruto-kun. We have to make sure we stay in top condition in case something happens. And from what I've heard from Jiraiya-sama about training you, you don't know how to hold back. I'm a medic ninja, but I would still be less than 100% if a real battle were to break out. Okay, he said dejectedly before turning to Tsunade Bachan. Do you want to fight? Come on, you know you want your rematch with me. I can see it in your eyes. Those big brown orbs are just screaming at you to tear me apart and get your win back. Tsunade gave Naruto a dry look as she refilled her saucer. As much fun as it would be to slap you around the desert. You are my bodyguard, Brat, and I can't in good conscience cause the physical bodily harm to you that I would like to for that asinine remark. Here. She then got a smirk on her face. I will keep that in mind, however, when we get back to Konoha. I need a new human punching bag to spar with. I can't go all out on Sakura because I'm supposed to be training her, but you don't have that safeguard on you, do you? And beating your ass would be the next best thing to beating Jiraiya's ass when I can't catch him for being a glorified pervert. With your healing factor, you should be able to take it, right? Naruto thought to himself, this could either be really good or really bad, a fight with my own Hokage. In an effort to put this in the back of your mind for further thought, just smile and nod in agreement. He then actionized his thoughts before he felt cold iron being set on top of his head. Hello, Temari-chan. Good to see you again. If I could actually see you. Hello, Naruto. The fan freed itself from Naruto's head, allowing the boy to turn around to catch sight of her. Temari now wore a black Suna forehead protector on her head, a black battle dress, black gloves, and a red sash around her waist. Her ever-present iron fan was strapped to her back as always. You don't know how to keep in contact with people? Naruto sighed. I could have told you where I had been for a lot of the last 2 years, but I would have had to kill you after sending the letter. Temari placed her hands on her hips. Anything to say in your defense? Yes, actually, Naruto said with full confidence. Blame her. He said, pointing at Tsunade. You should know being a rookie Chunin sucks. Well, try that being cranked up to 12 with the rate she had me working at. In the last 2 years, 14 months of it have been spent working long missions. Add that on to the banes of my existence, gate guarding duty and routine border patrol, and my ass has been run ragged. He looked at Tsunade. Why the hell did you make me work so much anyway, Tsunade-bakan? I know for a fact that Shikamaru didn't work 1/3 of the schedule I kept. Tsunade shrugged. When I had a joint meeting with the upper-ranked ninja a few months after my inauguration to go over our mission influx, I talked about how I needed someone to fall on the explosive note of picking up a lot of the slack. Gai Kakashi, Enko, Genma, and you raised your hands to volunteer. Oh, he said as he thought back to it. I honestly was not paying attention to a single word you said in that meeting. It was so boring. I just raised my hand at the end because I saw other people doing it. You never elaborated on what it was I had raised hand for. And nobody said anything about it after that, so I thought it was totally inconsequential, especially when nothing happened after that. Tsunade and Shizune sweat dropped, and that's why we haven't promoted you yet. They said in unison. Naruto stood up abruptly. Oh, come on. It was staff meeting. Not a war meeting, not a mission briefing, but a staff meeting. Nothing important is ever said at staff meetings, especially to the Chunin in attendance. We're too high ranked to avoid them, and too low ranked to get anything out of them. Tamari gave Naruto a look that had an air of indifference, but listening to her tone one could tell that she was somewhat perturbed. Well, last time I was in Konoha I found something quite interesting. How long have you had a girl living in your house with you? This one was an easy bullet to dodge for Naruto. It depends on when you were there. She's been there for almost 6 months, but I haven't been there in 6 months. So technically she only lived with me for about a week, then I left, then I lived with her another week. She called you Master and Naruto-sama, Tamari said. Naruto responded, if anything I would call her an old family friend, not a servant. She seems to really be into calling me that, so I let her, and I let her live with me for personal reasons. However, she is just an old family friend. An old family friend, he emphasized. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Hamako had taken to visiting Iruka Umino and being something of a teacher's aide for the academy when Naruto was out on missions, due to not having a lot to do when he was gone. Kids had taken a shine to her, due to her pleasant demeanor being a welcome contrast whenever Iruka got into lecture mode, and the little she knew on the subject of ninja arts, while incredibly specialized, helped Iruka out when he had gone over the basics of sealing with older students. Instead of just showing them a sealing scroll and having them come to their own conclusions on what to think, he had Hamako lecture for the day instead, actually teaching him something in addition to the students. Currently, however, Hamako was assisting Iruka in grading papers while the class were outside for lunch when she looked up with a somewhat blank look on her face, getting Iruka's attention. Hamako, is anything the matter? Hamako frowned. I'm not sure, Iruka-san. But I have an overwhelming urge to find Naruto-sama and cause him physical harm of some kind. Back in Suna. Be that as it may. Tamari stated firmly, I haven't seen you in forever, and it's mostly your fault, and I'm fairly certain you've been doing stupid things while you've been busy. What are you going to do to make that up to me? Naruto pulled out his wallet in a placating fashion. I am going to make a ton of money once I get around to grabbing my bounty check from your brother. So if I take you out to do whatever you want like the last time I pissed you off, would that work out? Tamari's eyes shone as she grabbed Naruto's forearm firmly and pulled him out of the cafe. Let's go then. Naruto tried holding on to the doorframe in vain. Wait, I have a job to do. I'm guarding Ba-chan. Tamari-chan let go. 2 days later, the day of the Chunin exam finals, Gaara and Tsunade, in full Kage garb, were seated in a box overlooking the entire stadium, which was an open-air coliseum at the outskirts of Suna, dug halfway into the cliff surrounding the village. The battlefield was earthy, mostly rocky earth with boulders lining parts of the field. Naruto and Shizune were flanking Tsunade, while Gaara had Kankuro and Temari doing the same for him. While the Jounin up for promotion were down on the field, Naruto had taken to pointing them all out in his own way. I could beat him, her, him. Oh, that kid wouldn't last 5 seconds with me. Sakura, Ino, Choji, and Kiba were the Konoha ninja that had made it this far, this time around. All of the others had been promoted in the previous exam, leaving them as the ones that needed to pass this time. Naruto frowned at seeing Sakura down there. Man, I kinda screwed Sakura over when I advanced in rank, didn't I? After Sasuke left, she didn't have a team, so trying to take this again must have been a major pain in the ass. Tsunade tried to get him to take some blame off of himself. She rotated between active teams while I trained her and was on Choji and Ino's team the last time she made an attempt. They were all simply matched against opponents that they couldn't handle in the first round fights and were forced out. Sakura fought Neji Hyuga. Choji fought Rock Lee. And Ino fought Hinata Hyuga. Of course you weren't there to see it. Naruto rolled his eyes. And whose fault is that? You had me working like a slave, so how was I supposed to show up and watch? Besides, I'm not that important to them. They had to have forgotten about me by now. The only one that should even have a semblance of care about me is Shikamaru. And that's because I've worked with him on the mission to Kiri and did a border patrol for 2 weeks with him. You would be surprised, brat. Tsunade assured as the proctor for the fights. Baki. called for the fighters to acknowledge the crowd that had come to see them today. One of Gaara's Suna ninja made their way to the box and bowed to him. Kazuya Kage-sama. The Tsuchikage and his entourage have arrived and are making their way to the box as we speak. Naruto cracked his neck to the side, and here we go. Let's get this over with. Shizune looked over to Naruto. Naruto-kun, pull your hood up. Naruto shook his head. To hell with that. I'm not hiding when I don't have to. Ba-chan didn't order me to cover up, so I'm not doing it. If he's dumb enough to cause a stir here, then I have to seriously doubt his status as Tsuchikage. There was no more time left to speak about the subject as the man in question made his way into the area of seating. A small man dressed in the Kage robes of his own village, with the kanji for earth on his hat, made his way towards the seat on Gaara's left, opposite of Tsunade's seat. The man had a large bulbous nose and a mustache-beard combination. Accompanying him was a large man with dark eyes and hair that spiked out from the back of his red bandana-style forehead protector. He had big cheeks and a plump nose and wore the Iwa brand flak jacket and a yellow scarf over his red long-sleeved shirt and red pants. Also accompanying him was a girl with short black hair and pink pupilless eyes. Under her Iwa flak jacket she wore appeared to be a kimono with the right sleeve missing as well as the bottom left side, and underneath that she had fishnet tights and shorts. He took his seat, prompting Gaara to initiate conversation. I'm happy you were able to make it to the event, Tsuchikage Dono. The Tsuchikage gave Gaara what looked to be a somewhat haughty smirk. It's been quite a while since I've made the trip to watch an exam outside of the village. When the opportunity was offered, I just had to jump all over it for once. I needed a vacation. He looked over at Tsunade. Well, Tsunade, how's the job since you took over? I never pegged you for Kage work. Tsunade let out a small laugh. Let's just say that Konoha gave me an offer to return that I couldn't refuse. It's a bet I was willing to take. On the field, Asakura was fighting first, standing out face to face against male Suna Genin. Along with her still short pink hair, Sakura now had a red forehead protector in her hair. Her top was similar to the dress she wore a few years back, but was just the top. She had black high-heeled shinobi sandals, black shorts, a short pink apron-like skirt, and pink elbow protectors as well as a tanto and a medic field pack on her lower back. As she stared her opponent down, she pulled a pair of black gloves onto her hands. Upon being allowed to start by Baki, Sakura attempted to rush right towards the boy who jumped out of the incoming pink-haired girl's path as she headed in to attack him. She made a set of half a dozen clonard to disorient the boy and allow her to get closer while he tried figuring the right one. Gaara turned to Tsunade as the battle progressed. Your apprentice is fighting much the same way she did in the Chunin exam that I competed in Hokage Dano. How would she go about winning this fight? Tsunade smirked. That's easy, Kazekage Dono. She's a woman and an obvious medicnin, and he's a man and probably more of a direct combat type. That means he thinks she isn't physically skilled and he'll attempt to get close. Gaara looked somewhat puzzled. What does that mean? The Tsuchikage knew what she was referring to and then let out a laugh. Oh, this will be funny. Keep your eyes on the fight, young one, and you'll see what she's talking about in just a moment. The boy had managed to discover which of the copies were fake, and now had the real Sakura. But hitting her with any of his weaponry proved to be an arduously difficult task as she seemed to be effortlessly moving out of the way of everything he sent her way. Getting upset now, the boy rolled through hand signs. Wind release. Powerful wind wave. The Suna Genin shot off a powerful blade of wind at Sakura, who took to ducking behind the boulders produced on the battlefield. The technique cut into, but not through her cover, showing that the boy was not fully adept at using the element. 3 versions of Asakura came from behind the boulder, charging his way. Not this again, the boy said before reaching into his kunai pouch and hitting them with more weapons, dispelling their illusionary forms, keeping his eyes peeled around him for more instead of keeping himself locked on the boulder Asakura initially took cover behind. As his attention was diverted to search for Asakura, the boulder that he had cut into had been lifted off of the ground into Sakura's arms before being tossed across the field at him. He felt it coming at the last moment and dodged to potentially save his life. As he jumped far to the side, he never noticed that Sakura had anticipated his movement and moved to cut him off upon the point he found it necessary to turn around and face her again. As he turned his head, all he saw was Sakura with her fist cocked back, and that was the last thing he saw for the rest of the fight. Sakura's fist collided with his jaw, sending him flying across the field into the stadium wall, leaving a deep impression in the wall where her opponent's body had hit. Baki made his way over, and found the Tsunagenin utterly responseless. Lifting his hand in Sakura's direction, he spoke, "Winner Sakura Haruno." As applause sounded out for Sakura's victory, Naruto looked at a very pleased Tsunade while giving the girl applause of his own. Damn Sakura. God, you just had to go and teach her how to do that, didn't you? From what I remember as a Genin on Kakashi's team, she already hit hard enough. Though that never made its way towards fighting, just the back of my head, really. Tsunade applauded and turned her eyes to Naruto. Hey, I have free rein to teach my apprentice what I want. If Jiraiya could teach you the spinning blue orb of death and how to summon toads, then I can give Sakura a little strength boost. Naruto's sweat dropped. A little strength boost? I sincerely hope she never goes back to her old habit of trying to smack me one like when we were fresh, Genin. Getting hit every blue moon by you is enough. The Tsuchikage entered the conversation, forcing Naruto to subconsciously steal his features. So if that girl down there is your apprentice, Tsunade, and you claim that this kid here has learned the Rasengan from Jiraiya and how to summon toads, does that mean he's Jiraiya's apprentice as well? That's curious. He got a look at Naruto, who until that point he had overlooked as a random bodyguard, and almost had a PTSD flashback at the serious look in Naruto's eyes before settling himself. You know, he looks awfully familiar. I never forget a face, especially a face that caused so much impact to my village. Naruto, Shizune, and Tsunade frowned inwardly. Here we go. They all thought at the same time. The blonde currently being scrutinized looked at his blonde leader. Hey, Bachan, can I just come out and say it? It's clear he already knows and just wants confirmation. And you know that I can't stand a badly kept secret. Tsunade frowned and nodded. What's with the Bachan brat? You started out calling me Hokage-sama. Naruto shrugged. When you let me speak freely in Gaara's office, you never told me to shut up or rein myself in. I used that as a loophole to keep saying what I wanted, he admitted, getting a small sweat drop from Tsunade for such a simple tactic. He then locked eyes with the Tsuchikage, as much as he could anyway, with the man's hat obscuring them from full view. As for why I look familiar, well, I'm the son of Minato Namikaze. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and it's nice to meet you. That brought looks of shock from Temari, Kankuro, and the Tsuchikage's two bodyguards. As the Tsuchikage allowed Naruto to look in his eyes, he didn't see any real hatred, mostly amusement, really. I honestly believed they had resurrected the man from the grave for a moment when I first looked at you, kid, but then I got a look at those marks on your cheeks, and that name. You're the Jinchuriki of your village, aren't you? Naruto nodded, guilty as charged. You're not going to yell at me and tell me to die for my father or something? Because that's really what I was expecting the second you got a look at me. The Tsuchikage looked back out at the arena. Bah. I'm getting too old to hold grudges against dead men. You weren't even a screaming brat yet when all of that happened, so how could I possibly justify trying to take you out? It's not like Iwa is looking to fight with Konoha and, Hiraishin or something. Man, that would be so badass, Naruto grumbled to himself. I need something cool like that. Every Kage or famous ninja has something cool that nobody else can do. I don't have jack. I'm just a Jinchuriki. Therefore, if I am known, I'm known as the Jinchuriki kid, not Naruto of something, just Naruto the Jinchuriki. The girl that was guarding the Tsuchikage was in shock at how Naruto was casually speaking to her Kage. How can you just speak to the leaders of 3 of the 5 great shinobi nations so casually? Nobody ever talks to Gramps like that. Naruto turned his attention to her. I hung out with the 3rd Hokage all the time from the age of 8 until his death. I call the current Hokage Tsunade Diabakin to her face, mostly because it's actually appropriate, and hey Gaara. Naruto said, getting the Ichibi Jinchuriki's attention. You remember that time you and your siblings spent the week at my house? You guys still owe me grocery money. Naruto smirked. Unless I'm told to be meek and compliant to the honorifics that everyone uses for each other, I won't use them. I hate being like that. Sometimes these guys just need someone that is willing to treat them like everyone else. You seem to be pretty familiar with the Tsuchikage to be calling him Gramps, so what does that mean? The girl glared slightly, because he's my grandfather. What else would I call him? Naruto chuckled. That's a better excuse than I have for why I call Bachan what I call her. I was just being a bastard when I met her and called her Granny. I had no idea we were actually related somehow, so now she has no reason to tell me to not call her that. Naruto was still somewhat wary, but was satisfied at the moment that the Iwa contingent didn't flat out want him dead. He was very happy about that. As the contestants for the next bout entered the field, he figured maybe he was being all paranoid about the Chunin exams for nothing. There was no way that he would go 2 for 2 in regards to catastrophic situations, right? Nobody's luck was that hit or miss. He wasn't even in this one. Solsuke-kun, is this really what you would like? Orochimaru asked. Heading into Sunagakure just for Naruto-kun seems a tad over your head. Questioning Sasuke's abilities, no matter how seemingly suicidal his task, was always the perfect way to push him into pretty much anything. Sasuke grunted. I'll finish him off and we'll be right out of there. It'll be so fast no one will even know we were there. I can't believe Leader Sama told us to come all the way into the fucking desert just for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. A man with slicked-back silver hair cursed as he and his masked partner strode through the desert. Isn't he? Itachi and Kasama's mark. Why the hell are they for this? The masked man sighed. Just deal with it, Haidan, and stop complaining about it. The sooner we finish this mission, the sooner I can go back out looking for more bounties. Besides, this kid killed Sasori. Maybe he can do me a favor and finish you off once and for all. Huh? Hidan laughed. If he can do it, he's more than welcome to try Kakuzu. Unlike the rest of you heathens, I'm Jashin-sama's chosen one. None of you fools can kill me. Kakuzu shook his head. Well, maybe if we can get the Achibi as well, Leader Sama will give us a bonus. Naruto's eye twitched as he grabbed his head and lost his balance, forcing himself to catch himself on Tsunade's chair. Ow! He said while rubbing his temple. Tsunade looked at Naruto with a little anger in her eyes. Stop training, brat. I'm not going to tell you again. That's an order. Naruto sighed in a downtrodden fashion. Okay, fine. It was for a good reason, though, he said as he simply stood in place before cringing and falling against Tsunade's chair again. Oh, damn it. Tsunade got a tick mark on her head. I told you to stop. Naruto pulled himself back together. I did stop. I dispelled all the rest of the clones I made. The first headache was a ton of my clones annihilating themselves trying one of my jutsu. The second one was me dispelling the rest of them. I can't do it in waves from this far away. It has to happen all at once. Temari looked over at him, clutching his head. You make your clones train? Where? Naruto growled in annoyance at the pain on his skull. I sent them into the desert 2 days ago and told them to get lost and work until they dispelled and nothing else. Well, it worked all right. Below, on the Chunin exam battlefield, Ino had forced her opponent to surrender after taking control of their body with mind-body disturbance jutsu, and forced them to hold themselves at knife point. It was evident that everyone was much better than previously indicated from their last encounter with him, something that actually brought a smile to his face. Choji and Esakura were to fight next round after Choji had almost crushed the Aiwa Genin representative. Kiba was to take on one of the Suna ninja that had survived his first round bout, and Ino was getting a bye straight to the finals after her victory. As he watched with a semblance of pride at his classmates' actions, a piece of information he had previously overlooked passed through his head, forcing a scowl onto his face. Oh, stupid fucking clones, he whispered. Shizune turned to him. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? Naruto kept his voice low. While they were making their way out into the desert to train, they saw something. But they didn't dispel because I had given them strict parameters on what they could and couldn't do, and they didn't engage for the same reason. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the word engage. What did you see, brat? Naruto looked at her seriously, black robes with red clouds. Tsunade returned her gaze down to the arena as Baki announced a short recess before the next round of fights. Whatever you're willing to do about this, you know I'm game. Chatter from the entire arena went up, covering up their words even further from being heard by those surrounding them. Tsunade took in her immediate options. She could let be known to the others that Akatsuki was en route for either Naruto or Gaara. Probably the best option possible, as that would let Gaara mobilize the village's forces in an effort to rebuke them. The downside to that was the fact that saying anything here would cause mass hysteria, which would make it easier for Akatsuki to manage a quiet capture and slip away if either Naruto or Gaara were caught off guard. In addition to that, a group of S-rank missing ninja were heavy hitters and would take out a mass amount of Gaara's forces even if they were able to put them down in the end. With the two nations being in an alliance and the Tsuchikage sitting right there, having him witness the toll that would be taken on Suna might not be the best option in view of possible future events. The second option would be to send Naruto and Shizune out to engage them head-on before they made it to the village. A heavy gamble, as chances are Naruto was the one they were after. She might have been able to excuse herself so that she could head out with them, but that would raise far too much suspicion. The downside to this was that Naruto was the only one she was certain of that had the capabilities to go up against these people. She didn't want Shizune caught in the ruckus. She was good but was definitely not a combat type. Then there was the third option, probably the worst option of all. She could send Naruto out alone. She would keep a slug on the kid and one on herself so that she could be kept up to date with what was happening. But it was still long odds that this would work. The upside was that Naruto would be fighting in the desert, which would allow him to cut loose with the Kyuubi's chakra. And from the reports on Naruto's attacks on a few of Orochimaru's bases when he cut loose, it was a sight to behold. He already beat the Akatsuki in a 2-on-1 situation, didn't he? He killed one and made the other retreat, and this time if he was in over his head he could get immediate backup. Tsunade motioned Naruto near her. "You're gonna be going on your own, brat. I'm sticking you with a slug so I can keep track of you and you can keep me informed. But you need to cut those two off. Handle this, and hustle back here as fast as you can, okay?" Naruto nodded. "You also need a way out of here, fast, because I'm racking my brain to come up with an excuse to get you to leave." She took the time to summon 2 hand-sized slugs under her robe and send one into Naruto's hood. Naruto locked eyes with her and sighed. You know how the best stories are things that are based on real life? Tsunade gave him a confused look, forcing him to further elaborate. "You're going to have to sock me one Ba-chan. A good one too to make it seem realistic. Just make sure you send me north by northeast. Aim good too, because you've got to get me over that cliff top." Tsunade frowned. "You're sure you'll survive it?" She got a nod in response. "All right then, brat. Good luck." She channeled the chakra to her hand and hit the boy square in the chest, taking care to hit him in an area that would equally distribute the damage she dealt, as well as make it look like she whiffed him on the chin, opening her fist right upon contact to hit him with her palm and send him flying. To the shock and surprise of everyone not in the know about what had just transpired, Tsunade just turned back towards the other 2 Ka and shrugged. "Ill-mannered brats. The next generation has no respect for their elders." The Tsuchikage snorted in humor. "You've got that right. My own granddaughter Kuratsuchi treats me like a fragile old man. Me, Onoki." "That's because you are a fragile old man, Gramps." Kuratsuchi pointed at the sparkle in the sky representing Naruto's body. "Is he going to be all right after that?" Tsunade nodded. "Oh yeah. I hit him harder than that all the time. He'll hop right back up wherever he lands, for his sake somewhere soft." "Damn Tsunade Bachan, that was further than a kilometer, I swear." After Naruto landed in the Sunagakure scrap heap, he swiftly stood up and dusted himself off. "Man, hitting the tightly packed earth around here sure would have sucked. I'm glad this pile of rusty kunai and shuriken were here to break my fall." Naruto looked around at the people staring at him strangely. "You didn't see anything." He then took off towards the northeast. "What's the matter with you, boy?" Naruto heard in his head as he was en route to a confrontation with whoever Akatsuki had sent for him this time. "What in the world are you babbling about now? You've been really pissy lately and I'm getting kind of tired of your crap. The last few times I went into the mindscape you didn't even wake up to talk to me." Naruto thought rather testily. Naruto went into autopilot mode as he felt a little pull, sending him thoughts on what the Kyuubi was currently doing. Apparently it was bored enough that it had taken to chewing on some guy with long, spiky black hair and strange, red old-style armor. Kyuubi spit him out and huffed. What I mean is, what the hell do you think you've been doing lately? What happened to the little blonde killing machine you used to be? The runt of a human that earned my respect? What happened to the brat that cut down an entire room of Kumo ninja without batting an eye? Does that son of a bitch still breathe? Naruto didn't have the time to even start thinking about what he meant by that. I don't know what you're talking about. This is who I am, and I'm still that damn good. Just because I can be normal after I'm done with the fight doesn't mean anything. You lie. He felt the Kyuubi roar to him. You're lying to me and to yourself. This isn't you. When you first unlocked your sealed memories once more, I took the way you were acting with a grain of salt. I figured that when you got a few kills under your belt and had gotten back into some wet work, you would go back to the way you were. Rehabilitation, if you will. Instead, you got worse. And now look at you. You're some guard dog for a bunch of withered old crones more often than you're in battle. You joke around and fall in line behind crones that couldn't strap on your sandals. God, boy. You were starting to consider those Konoha weaklings in the stadium as your peers, as if they were on your level. They are my peers. Come the end of this exam, they're going to be my fellow Chunin. What do you want from me? Do you want me to just shut myself in like when I was a kid? To just train and go on missions? To be like I was en route? Newsflash verbal. That's why I'm not there anymore. At this point, Danzo Gigi can't turn me back. He couldn't even make me a mindless drone when I was 5. How in the blue hell is he going to do anything with me now? Naruto raged at the demon in his mind. For over a year now, the Kyuubi had been angry at something. It couldn't have just been because Jiraiya loosened the seal. That would only be enough reasoning for why Naruto was feeling it more often these days. The times where the Kyuubi was actually pleasant were becoming few and far between. This was why it was angry, because Naruto wasn't dark enough for it. He had taken the example of his sealed state and had opened up to people. He had those that he actually considered friends. He spent a lot of his time with these people instead of fighting like he used to. As he tore through the sand dunes, he decided to put this on the back burner for the time being. Alright, listen up. We don't have time to be fighting and bitching at each other right now. After we handle this, we can gripe at each other to your heart's delight, if we survive, but for the moment we need to focus. You're getting sick of me? That's fine. We were never friends, but like it or not, I need you, and you need me. There was silence before a low growl. As loath as I am to admit it, you are right. Right before a battle is not the time to go over this. But rest assured, this is not over. You are a mere shell of what you used to be, and at this rate, you always will be. With that, the connection between the two was cut off. Naruto pulled up his hood as he kept up the frantic pace through the desert. I'm not a shell of anything, you stupid fox. I'm more than I ever have been before. Why would I ever want to go back to the way things used to be? Fighting just for the sake of being a ninja is no way to live. As Kiba's opponent finally dropped from blood loss, giving the wild-looking teen the victory in his bout, Izune looked over at Tsunade and whispered through her applause, Do you think Naruto-kun will be all right? Tsunade kept her eyes ahead of her. If he gets overwhelmed, we'll know about it immediately, and courtesy be damned. I'm going out there and cracking some skulls myself. I can't even enjoy the tournament anymore, and Sakura is in the next fight. All of my genin are the last 3 remaining, and I can't even enjoy the show. Kurotsuchi looked around. Where's that Naruto kid that Hokage-sama sent flying? She said he would be alright, and that was 45 minutes ago. He still isn't back yet. Shizune laughed nervously. Oh, Naruto-kun has a terrible sense of direction. He probably got lost somewhere in the village on his way back. He's fine. Naruto didn't get lost ever. Even Gaara and his siblings knew that. From back when Naruto stayed in Suna during the treaty analysis after the failed Oto-Suna invasion, it was clear that it didn't take much for the boy to find his way around. Even the way he ran through the desert straight to Konoha, after his mission was complete, proved that if he saw something once, he didn't ever get lost. Keeping this in mind, Gaara turned his attention back to the proceedings, while Kankuro and Temari were more on edge, doing their best not to let it show. Are we fucking there yet? Hidan shouted. I hate the desert. There isn't even anyone or anything out here to sacrifice to Jashin-sama except for you. Oh. Kakuzu glared out of the corner of his eye. You try it and I'll shove that side so far up your ass you'll be spitting chunks of metal. Now, shut up and come on, we're almost there if the dome-like structure in the distance isn't an indicator to you, moron. Lightning release. Electric field. Hidan and Kakuzu found themselves surrounded in a restrictive field of electricity. Hidan looked around him testily. Now what the fuck is the problem? Kakuzu growled. Shut the hell up, Hidan. It's obvious someone got the drop on us. It won't be enough to win, but I suppose congratulations are in order for pulling that off. It's a pretty decent trap, to say the least. Hidan looked at his partner angrily. Stop complimenting the bastard and find a way to get us out of here. I want to catch the target and be done with this. Naruto's voice projected itself across the desert. Now's the time that most people would offer you the chance to simply leave and save your lives, but I'm not really most people. Sorry about that. A sizzling noise came from within the electric field. Underneath the top layer of sand was a small cluster of explosive tags burning through. Fuck. Hidan summed up perfectly. Boom, the explosion negated the electric field, allowing the force of the blast to push Naruto out of his hiding spot underneath the sand. He stood back up and looked at the smoke generated from the attack. That was way too easy. It can't be over yet. He was then forced to dodge a scythe came sweeping out under him from the sand. Hidan revealed himself after his failed attack, with half of his cloak singed off in the explosion, revealing deep burns on his body. You little shit. That hurt. Naruto got a good look at his body. That should have killed him. It's clear that he didn't dodge it from the way he looks, so why is he still here? While he was keeping track of Hidan, a pair of arms reached up from the sand and pulled him under before pulling him out a distance away and slamming him into the ground harshly. Due to the ground being sand, Naruto stood up rather quickly, head swimming, but then he had just gotten dragged through the earth and slammed from 10 feet in the air, so being a little disoriented was par of the course. He stood up fast enough to see Kakuzu's arms return to his body, connected by black threads that seemed to comprise his innards. Naruto frowned to himself. Interesting technique. After getting slammed into the ground, his hood had come off, revealing his face to the two Nin. Kakuzu stared at him for a second before laughing. Well, would you look at that, Hidan? The Kyuubi Jinchuriki came right to us. No searching necessary. We didn't even have to smoke him out. That certainly saves us some time, doesn't it? Hidan joined his partner in laughing at Naruto. What kind of idiot walks right into a 2-on-1 situation? What did you think you were going to do like this? Naruto narrowed his eyes as a bubbling cloak of the Kyuubi's chakra covered his body. Let me show you. The cloak took on the shape of a fox and one tail sprouted from the back as his canines grew. His eyes turned red, and his nails turned into claws. After thinking about it for a moment, he concentrated further and manifested a second tail of chakra, giving him a black outline on his lips. He crouched down in the more comfortable position of being on all fours. On second thought, I might as well start trying to go all out right now. Gaara's eyes turned towards the northeast as he stayed seated in the stadium. The intermission was close to being complete, and Naruto had still yet to return to the Kage box. He wasn't the only one to feel the influx of dark power from the distance away. Tsunade felt it but futilely tried to hide feeling the energy. Onoki felt it as well, but seeing as how no one else was speaking up about it, he wasn't about to. Gaara finally turned his head towards his siblings. I think I would like to stretch my legs for a moment. Kankuro Temari, please remain here if you would. He stood up and placed his hat and Kage robes on his chair. Hokage Dono. Tsuchikage Dono, I will return in just a moment. I apologize for departing so abruptly. With that, Gaara disappeared in a wave of sand. Tsunade felt herself release a breath when Gaara left. At the very least, now the kid would have more than adequate backup from the Kazekage himself. Onoki let out a short chuckle. That new Kazekage is a real hands-on kind of guy, it seems, eh, Tsunade? His larger bodyguard looked down at him. What are you referring to, Tsuchikage-sama? Onoki looked back down into the arena. Nothing you need to concern yourself with, Akatsuchi. Hidan took a swing at Naruto with his scythe, only for Naruto to blur out of his sight in a burst of speed. He was then thrown back through the sand from a single punch to the jaw from the target Jinchuriki. Hidan stood back up with his jaw hanging loosely before cracking it back into place. He angrily turned to Kakuzu. You can help me out with this punk at any time, you know? Kakuzu rolled his eyes. Aren't you the one that always says that you don't want or need my help? Well, prove it this time. Growling at the challenge, Hidan turned back towards Naruto. Fine then, it's no skin off of my nose. He ran back and swinging only to get cracked again even harder this time, getting sent headfirst into a sand dune. Kakuzu looked at the scene in amusement. Actually, it just might be. Heads up. Hidan was about to ask what he meant by heads up when a red claw of chakra wrapped around his body tightly. Gah! What the hell is this? Kakuzu, get me out of this, Kakuzu elaborated. It's the toxic chakra of the Kyuubi no Yoko. You should be fatally burned if you were normal. But the way you are, you'll be fine. Fuck you, Kakuzu. After this punk, you're next. Hidan yelled as he was reeled in by Naruto's chakra arm. Naruto drew his arm back in a knife-handed strike and forcefully shoved his sharpened claws through Hidan's chest, sending his arm in wrist deep. Naruto then bonelessly cast him away back towards Kakuzu's side. Naruto turned his red eyes to Kakuzu and crouched back down on all fours. Next. Kakuzu shook his head and walked over to Hidan before kicking him in the head. Wake your ass up, you pathetic bastard. After a second, Hidan stirred and stood up, holding his head, instead of his chest where there was a gaping hole. What did you kick me for, you godless tame? That actually hurt. A mass of black threads came from Kakuzu's body. Oh, shut up already, you were careless, and the kid kicked your ass. Be sure not to let it happen again, Naruto growled. Like hell I'm going to let you heal him. He tensed his muscles to spring to attack once again. A mass of the threads came from Kakuzu's body, and instead of sealing Hidan's wounds shut, made a strange four-legged body with thin wings and a blue eagle mask at the head. Mind your own business, boy, I'll deal with you in just a moment. Play with my wind element for the time being. Wind release, pressure damage. The mask quickly dashed off towards Naruto before swirling around, and making a whirlwind that it seemed to be compressing in place before finally letting the glowing pressurized wind go. The force of the released attack sent Naruto flying off rapidly through the arid landscape. Naruto exploded out of the sand that buried him, and glared at the mask that was coming his way once again. He pulled the sword from his back and leapt forward, his tails of chakra propelling him forward. The wind mask attempted to meet him head-on, but with a simple shift of movement with his chakra tails, he barrel rolled aside and kept blasting through the sand to head back towards Hidan and Kakuzu. Kakuzu had just finished sewing the gaping wound on Hidan's chest shut, amid much swearing and death threats. As a dust cloud rushed towards the two men, Kakuzu's eyes widened. Oh, you're going to want to move. With that, he jumped out of the way. Damn it, you know I'm slower than you, Kakuzu. And once again, Hidan ended up taking the brunt of Naruto's wrath, this time getting his head cleaved clean off. Not stopping to check over his handiwork, he moved on to the deceptively fast Kakuzu. As Kakuzu backpedaled through the sands, he made a snake hand seal that turned his visible skin darker. Near black, Earth release. Earth Spear Naruto went to swing his blade at Kakuzu and watched in shock as he simply blocked with his forearm. He then barreled at punch and drilled Naruto in the face that sent him flying back once again. Kakuzu went back over to Hidan while Naruto was still reeling. He picked Hidan's head off of the ground, and that's why you need to actually train to be faster instead of praying to your god. Maybe then you wouldn't suck so badly. The disembodied head of Hidan held a shocked, lifeless face for about 3 seconds before it snarled and tried to bite at Kakuzu. Shut the hell up, you heathen. With a gift like this from Jashin-sama, why would I possibly need to be fast? I can survive anything. Kakuzu walked back over to where Hidan's body had dropped. I don't know. Maybe because sewing your pathetic ass back together is getting repetitive. Untalented ninja should just die, and yet you keep sticking around. Just shut up and put me back together already so I can tear that kid open, Hidan snapped. It looks like he's the one tearing you open from what I've been watching, Kakuzu quipped. From where he landed, Naruto picked himself up once more, That felt like getting hit with one of Sumunade Bakan's love taps. I really hope that he can't hit any harder than that, or I'm in some trouble here. He powered down and tried to keep a low profile as he crept around the battlefield to attempt some kind of tactic on them, seeing as how brute force just wasn't working. At least he took out one of them. Naruto formed over 20 shadow clone and sent them out and around the perimeter of where he had been knocked away by Kakuzu. Naruto kept himself as concealed as he could as he peeked over a dune and almost bugged out at what he saw. Haiden was getting his head reattached to his body and it was speaking the entire time. Naruto dropped down back out of sight and had to slap himself to see if he was hallucinating. A genjutsu, maybe? No, maybe that last shot concussed him? No, he'd be over it by now as long as he had been generating 2 tails of the Kyuubi's chakra. Putting aside the thought of how the man could still be alive after being beheaded, how in the world was he still speaking? Didn't he sever some important cords in his throat when he cut his head off? Cutting off someone's head is checkmate, period. Naruto had fought like this, had been trained like this since day one. It was the single most definite way he knew of to finish his opponents off. Now that he seemingly couldn't kill this guy even after shoving his entire arm through his chest, even after severing his head from his shoulders, what could he possibly do to stop this guy? The answer was simple. He would just have to cut and rend him into itty-bitty pieces. Let's seem so the silver-haired bastard back together after that, but he still needed to get close for long enough to actually do it. That masked guy was no joke. To be able to hit him hard enough to actually harm him and hold him off when he was using the Kyuubi's chakra was a big deal. Naruto made a shadow clone and dispelled it to send a message of his next move to the rest of them. Kakuzu finished sewing Haidan's head back on. There! It will be easier to decapitate you, but seeing as how the kid uses a sword, if he cut through your neck with it, you would be losing that empty skull of yours again anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. From all around them, a massive shuriken flew into the air above them. A slew of similar voices shouted, "Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu!" The amount of shuriken flying above their heads multiplied enough to partially shade the sun from view. Kakuzu pulled Hidan back to his feet. "Haiden, get moving now!" Lightning release, lightning shuriken, the voices yelled out. Every shuriken hanging in the air rained down electricity onto the 2 men. Kakuzu was able to dodge all of the strikes and get himself out of the area of fire as the false shuriken dispelled and the real ones fell back down to the ground. Hidan ended up getting hit a few times due to the lightning rod he called a scythe in his hand, but aside from cursing about being hit, he was no worse for wear. Naruto's clones dispelled after using all of their chakra to power both of the ninjutsu they had just utilized, leaving Naruto alone on the battlefield once more. Alright then. Naruto moved from his hiding place at top speed in an effort to blindside Kakuzu or Hidan while they were still on edge from his last attack. However, he had forgotten about something that he had left in the dust that came back with a vengeance when Kakuzu's wind mask burst from the ground nearby and smashed into him, sending him flying into the air. Both Nuke-Nin heard and saw the attack. Hidan licked his lips as he leapt into the air to meet Naruto on the way down with his scythe. "Here we go, brat! I've been waiting to get my hands on you." Naruto saw him rising into the air as he descended. "Well, keep on waiting, wind release, wind burst." Naruto stepped on an invisible bubble of air that burst under him and launched him higher into the air, forcing Haidan's attack with his scythe to miss. Naruto used the extra space provided by his jutsu to go through a few hand seals and link his fists together. Wind release, divine fist of the wind god. The force of the wind jutsu from Naruto forced Hidan back to the ground violently, kicking up a huge cloud of sand from the impact. Naruto, however, once again got slammed into by the wind mask, knocking him away harshly as it followed up by releasing a powerful gust to push Naruto towards the ground even harder and keeping him from turning himself upright. "Not really the best plan to come out here alone, was it?" Kakuzu taunted as he rushed in towards the falling blonde. He launched a punch that extended due to his special technique with the black threads in his body. In mid-flight of the punch, his fist turned dark-colored as he hardened it with Doton. Domu and nailed Naruto right in the body. Letting blood and spittle spew from his mouth, he was sent flying once more, getting knocked around like a ping-pong ball. Naruto hadn't even touched the ground for 30 seconds and had switched direction and altitude at least 3 times. Before he could impact with the ground and slide along the sand, he found himself caught by the very thing he could see for miles and miles. Naruto then found himself turned around, and came face to face with a familiar pair of seafoam green eyes with black rings outlining them with a messy mop of red hair adorning his head. Back in the arena, attention had been grabbed for a moment as a loud lightning storm had kicked up out across the outskirts of the village. "Man, the desert has some weird weather," Kurotsuchi chimed. "Makes me glad we live in the mountains." Akatsuchi spoke up next, trying to interject helpfully. "We have lightning storms in the mountains too, Kurotsuchi." The girl blushed in embarrassment and pouted. "Shut up, Akatsuchi." Kankuro looked around. "Where the hell is Gaara?" "It's time for the finals, and he still isn't here. And for that matter, where's Naruto? Did he seriously get lost?" Shizune waved off his concern. "Oh, you know Naruto-kun." Kankuro rubbed his chin. "Yeah, I think I do. Because the last time he was here and he pissed off Tamari, he ran away. Lost her and hid for the entire day afterwards. He didn't come back to the house until Gaara headed out and dragged him back. There's no way that guy got lost in our village." Gaara didn't tell them where he had gone, so Tsunade figured that when he left he came to the same realization that she did. Any talk about there being an attack would put the city in a panic, especially the currently jam-packed stadium, so Gaara decided to Kage up and go defend his village himself. She had to respect that. And clearly Onoki did too, since he hadn't breathed a word of the situation that she was very certain he was also privy to. The old man, currently in her thoughts, put a smirk on his face, proving her right. "Wild exams this year, huh?" Tsunade laughed humorlessly. "You said it." Naruto couldn't help but place a smile on his face as blood trailed down his lip. "Gaara, I have never been so happy to be caught in your sand." He then put a dry look on your face. "You have cleaned this stuff since the last time I've been in it, haven't you?" Gaara raised a non-existent eyebrow. "How does one clean sand?" Naruto sighed. "Never mind, just let me down." Gaara proceeded to do so by dropping Naruto abruptly on his back. "I meant gently. I don't do gentle." Gaara deadpanned as he looked out at the two opponents Naruto had been fighting coming back together. "So these are Akatsuki members?" Naruto nodded as he stood back up. "Yep. I hope you got the memo about what these guys are after. Jinchuriki like you and me. So if we lose, prepare to get your soul and your bijou sucked out in a painful manner. How did you even find me anyway? Besides the massive bloodlust you were letting off when you accessed the Kyuubi's chakra, and the random lightning storm that hit from the middle of nowhere in my desert?" Gaara answered sarcastically. "And there's no way we're losing here, Uzumaki." Naruto drew his sword from his back once more, debating on whether or not it would be prudent to use the Senin Kogake in this situation, since he couldn't guarantee a swift kill even if he was able to dice them up. Kakuzu could apparently sew himself back together with his black thread innards, and if he cut off Hidan's head and he still got up to fight, he wasn't sure anything else would put him down. And why is that? Because you're the Kazekage? There goes that S-rank superiority complex I keep talking about. Gaara let his lips quirk, faintly displaying his amusement. "Tell me, Uzumaki, what is the one thing that I have complete control over?" Naruto rolled his eyes. "Sand." "Duh, Gaara. I knew that. Stop rubbing in the fact that your primary Jinchuriki form is always on, and I have to trigger my own manually to get any perks. I've been bitching to you about that for the last few years." Naruto then ended up with a mouthful of sand courtesy of Gaara. "Blah. Gross. Once again, I feel I have to mention the fact that you crush people with that shit. I know, Uzumaki. Now please tell me what kind of landscape we currently inhabit," Gaara requested with his arms crossed. Naruto's eyes widened as he looked around, and a manic grin slowly spread across his face. "At your cue, Sakage-sama." Gaara's face mirrored Naruto's own on a smaller scale, while Kakuzu and Hidan were sizing up the new situation. Kakuzu frowned, though it was unnoticeable through his mask. "We may have quipped about coming for the Ichibi Jinchuriki, but we're at an ungodly disadvantage against him here in his own environment, and with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki running circles around Hidan." and cleaving his body parts off at will. There's no way we're going to get him now with the Kazi Kage fighting at his side. We're outmatched. Hidan gripped his scythe tightly, his desire to spill blood temporarily overruled by his common sense, actually making an appearance. What's your call, Kakuzu? This was actually a good idea at first, but with this guy here now, we can't take them both. Kakuzu nodded, agreed. But maybe we can get some updated intel on these targets for a bit. Our information has been rather lax since the blonde brat took out Sasori. Hidan chuckled. Whatever you say. Hidan rushed from his spot with an intense shriek and swung his scythe at Naruto and Gaara. The latter blocked the attack with his automatic sand defense and started creeping his sand up the arm of Hidan. Gaara stuck his hand out and turned it to the side before closing it. Sand burial. Hidan's arm was crushed, producing a sizable burst of blood and getting a yell of pain from the silver-haired berserker. He pulled his crushed limb from the sand and ended up getting it severed by Naruto's sword before he could return to Kakuzu's side. Kakuzu rushed to the unprotected side of Gaara and attempted to deliver a heavy kick to the unmoving Kazuya Kage that was blocked again by Gaara's sand. Kakuzu was still fast enough, however, to remove his foot before Gaara could pull a repeat performance of Sabaku Suzu on him. He jumped back. That's a nice defense. It really is something worth mentioning when one speaks of you. I'm forgetting something, Naruto mentioned as he saw Gaara easily defending him from both of the Akatsuki members. Seriously, he wasn't ever looking forward to fighting Gaara ever again, even if it was just a spar. As he said this, Kakuzu's mask came at them both from a blind spot. It started making its movements to attempt Futon, Atsugai once again. But Naruto was damned if he was going to let that thing go off near Gaara without a fight. Naruto formed a shadow clone and formed a Rasengan. I'll show you a real wind jutsu. The shadow clone put its hands around the Rasengan Naruto had formed, and pumped wind chakra into it while Naruto maintained the original shape and form of the Rasengan, giving it the appearance of a Rasengan, with sharp spikes circulating outside of it. Come on, you ugly, ugly son of a bitch. Wind release! Spiral and sphere! Naruto met the mask head-on as it was forming the pressurized dome of air and collided the new Rasengan directly with its mask, destabilizing the mask's jutsu. The resulting clash of wind element ninjutsu caused a major outflow of force from the point of impact as a massive tornado engulfed both Naruto and the embodiment of Kakuzu's wind element. The force of the jutsu finally began tearing the black thread body apart and ended up shredding the mask itself into pieces. Naruto stood with his hand outstretched, cuts on his own palm, and insides of his fingers healing from the powerful wind technique. Bachan telling me not to train. How else would I have gotten this down? Hidan clutched at his missing arm as Kakuzu retreated back to his side. The masked man watched with interest. I think we've got enough for the time being. We need to report how dangerous the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is to Leader Sama. He raised his voice so Naruto and Gaara could hear him. This was an enlightening little skirmish. We'll definitely be seeing one of you two sooner rather than later, but for now we'll just let you be. A fight between us now would only be something akin to the unstoppable force against the unmovable object. He and Hidan both made half-taiga seals. Until next time. Gaara raised his hand at both men. Not so fast. Sand coffin. Gaara covered their bodies in his sand, but before he fully covered their faces he caught a smirk on the face of Hidan. So sorry, boys, but rest assured, Kyuubi kid. I'll be seeing you again real soon. The sand covered his face entirely with his dark grin being the last thing seen. Gaara clenched his fist. Sand burial. The sand imploded and gushed blood everywhere before receding back into Gaara's gourd. What a disappointment of a battle. Those were Sranked missing ninja. Naruto walked over to the corpses and frowned. These aren't the same guys, Gaara. Gaara let slight surprise show on his face as he walked over and realized Naruto was correct. The crushed, unidentified, unmarked men were not the same people that they had been fighting. What kind of henge could do this? A distance away, Hidan and Kakuzu came out of their meditative seated positions and stood back up to return to a base. Hidan dusted himself off. That was actually a solid idea to send in those sacrifices. A damn shame it didn't work, eh? Kakuzu cracked his neck. It couldn't be helped. My own was almost out of chakra, and without me, your copy would have just been diced up. Let's report back to Leader Sama. Feh, Hidan scoffed. Shut up. All of this wasted time sitting on my ass doing nothing. We'd better slaughter a random village or two on our way back. As Naruto and Gaara picked up the remains of the two men who had just been killed in Gaara's jutsu, and prepared to return to Sunagakure, a man clenched his fists and glared with his familiar spinning red eyes. What do you think, Sasuke-kun? Didn't we come all the way out here for you to fight Naruto-kun? Or is the Kiyaziya Kage too imposing a figure to make a move on him? I am here with you as well, you know. Sasuke stated simply as he turned around and began to walk away. He wasn't even good enough to beat those two on his own. I truly doubt you could do better if you had actually been in there. Kabuto sniped while adjusting his glasses only to get a full-powered glare from Sasuke. Ooh, such a scary face. That's enough, Kabuto. Orochimaru reprimanded his right-hand man. He is correct, though. Kakuzu and Hidan are nigh impossible to outright kill. I wonder how you would have handled them if it had been you fighting instead, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke stopped glaring at Kabuto and turned his head towards Orochimaru before turning around and walking away. Whatever, I'm wasting my time out here. Kabuto looked at his master. Why didn't we attack them after all, Orochimaru-sama? Orochimaru grinned predatorily. Akatsuki is just as much a pain in my side as it is a threat to Naruto-kun. If he can run their numbers down, then I see no reason to take the boy's life yet. Let them continue to pick away at one another for as long as the other can stand it. Kabuto nodded in agreement. And about Sasuke? Orochimaru began walking along the direction that Sasuke had just taken. You and I both know that he is still no match for the boy. However, in a few months that will no longer be much of an issue, Kabuto. But I'll give him the satisfaction of knowing that his body destroyed Naruto-kun. It just won't be him doing it in the end. As the group walked away, a scorpion that had been crawling nearby disappeared in a puff of smoke. Gaara walked next to Naruto back towards Suna with two sand clouds carrying the carcasses of their kills. Are we both in agreement that engaging them all now would not be practical for us? Naruto nodded. Oh yeah. But it doesn't matter. We have more important things to worry about than the body-snatching team. They'll come knocking at some point, and we'll be waiting. We? Gaara questioned. Naruto shrugged. What? You act like you aren't going to get all over this after today. He did manipulate your country into a war with mine, and he is trespassing in your country as we speak. Who knows what else they did while they were here. I'm certain you aren't going to just let that slide when the time comes, Kazekage-sama. Don't call me that, Uzumaki. Gaara insisted. It feels odd hearing that from you. Fair enough. Naruto accepted. I guess it would seem strange for the guy whose house you crashed over at for almost 2 weeks to call you by your title. Especially when I'm your age and everything. Hey, I wonder who won the exams. And that's it for the video. Until next time. Later.